Good morning, everybody, and welcome you to the July 30th, 2024 meeting of the Calvert County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'd like to ask Father Giovanni if he would come forward and give us an invocation. Morning, sir. Good morning.
Almighty God, we ask you to bless our proceedings, bless this meeting. God of wisdom, fill us with your spirit to judge wisely. God of compassion, may we always remember those who are least among us. May your blessings through this meeting come down upon all we serve. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Father. And Father comes to us today from Jesus the Good Shepherd Church in Huntingtown. Thank you very much. And is there any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Second. I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Do have a couple of public safety announcements, public service announcements today. I want to congratulate our public safety department. Our dispatchers in emergency communications were awarded the prestigious Partner in Education Recognition certification by the National Emergency Number Association, NENA. To qualify for this certificate, a rigorous set of criteria must be met to include continuing education, certifications, and meeting or exceeding standards for 911 call processing and quality assurance. So we want to take this opportunity to thank our staff for another department of ours that's getting nationally recognized for the work that they do in providing service to our citizens. So I want to, again, thank our staff for doing a great job. Another reminder, our animal shelter is still over capacity. So I know in the summertime, a lot of people are traveling. They're not thinking about adding a family member, but apparently it's been a busy season for the animal shelter, especially in the area of dogs. So, and I'm a dog person, Commissioner Hart's a dog person, Commissioner Ireland, dogs are great. So if you have a void in your life and you need a little something to fill that gap, go down, take a look, and see if you can find a dog there that will help you fulfill your life. The last thing that, we started the process last year where we asked citizens if they had legislative issues that they thought we should be considering. We have a process in place where you can submit those legislative proposals. You can do that through www.calvertcountymaryland.gov/legislative request. And you can do that by August. If you would do that by August 19th, 2024, we would really appreciate that. I think last year we had 5 requests, and I know at least one of those requests didn't make it through legislation. So it's your opportunity if you see things out there that you think need to be addressed. This is your opportunity to bring them to our attention. So we need those in by August the 19th, which is coming up pretty quick. So, thank you. That's all I have. First item on the agenda is a proclamation for National Black Business Month. Commissioner Hart, are you doing that?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. You gonna get us started?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Kathy McAdams, and I'm the Business Retention Specialist in Economic Development. August is National Black Business Month, a time dedicated to recognizing and supporting Black-owned businesses and entrepreneurs across the country. Black-owned businesses represent approximately 2 million companies, or 10% of U.S. businesses. There isn't a specific count of Black-owned businesses in Calvert County readily available. However, organizations like Calvert County Minority Business Alliance and the Southern Maryland Minority Chamber of Commerce actively support and promote Black-owned businesses in the region. These organizations work towards creating a supportive environment for minority business owners through networking, advocacy, and resource sharing. Our Calvert County community thrives because of these businesses, and to honor them, the Economic Development Team plans to spotlight Black-owned businesses throughout the month. We will share these spotlights on Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Economic Development website. Please visit www.choosecalvert.com/BBM to follow our campaign. Today, we have several community members here to celebrate the occasion. I would like to invite them up to accept the proclamation.
Good morning. I'm Chris Banks I'm a member of the Minority Business Alliance, and I'm a realtor at Exit One Stop Realty in North Beach.
Morning. I'm Gail Reed. I'm a school bus contractor in Calvert County.
Hi, Chris.
This year we'll be running 30 buses for the county as far as routes that go, and then we'll do trips and other activities. I'm also a member of the Minority Business Alliance, and I'm the chairperson of the one of the committees that they make me do. So.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Jasmine Russell Peter. I am also with the Minority Business Alliance. My business is 5W Solutions. We are an all-business, all-organizational development company consulting firm.
Good morning. My name is Crystal Ford. I'm also a member of the Minority Business Alliance. I am the owner of Loving Arms Child Care Center, as well as Young Kings and Queens Before and After Care and Ella's Whimsy Clothing Boutique, one of the only Black-owned clothing boutiques in North Beach. And I'm very happy to be here and excited.
Thank you.
I'm Lambert Richardson. I'm a massage therapist. You've known me as ER Massage Therapy, but now I am Elon Rochelle Day Spa and Health. We live in a county with multiple family members, generations with cancer, and I'm learning to help them naturally, and that's my goal, is to be here for the county to help people learn how to eat well, get out and get fresh air, sunshine, and I'm so excited to be here. Thank you very much.
My name is Edsel Brown Jr., and I have a couple of businesses. One is a business consulting firm, which is here in Calvert County, and I also, don't be mad at me, have a law firm in D.C. I'm the chair of the Southern Maryland Minority Chamber of Commerce. Pleasure being here.
My name is Derek Miner. I'm the owner of Dunkirk Sports Zone. I'm an online retail for athletic wear and apparel for the county. The need for the county really is because we actually have no sports center that you can buy any type of sports equipment here in the county. So I'm online, hope one day to get a brick and mortar store. Thank you for inviting me.
Good morning. I'm Cynthia Thorne Carter with Smart Ride. Thank you for having us. And we have been in business, it'll be 28 years on August 22nd. We do airport shuttle service, wheelchair accessible, transportation, anything basically you want to do. We do similar things to Uber, except I don't have that much money. And yeah, just give us a call. We'll try to work it out. We use vehicles like vans, SUVs, and cars to do the service, no limos at this point. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Adrienne Hope Sales, and I'm president of Chesapeake Wind Sail Cruises. I don't like to have my back to anybody, so I'm turning around also. It's the best way to see the bay on a 42-foot sailboat, and we provide 2.5-hour cruises around the bay. Please come and see the bay on our sailboat. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning. My name is Nate. I am the CEO of Chesapeake Wind Sail Cruises. The president just took all my thunder, but we're proud to say that we been in business since 2016, put the ship in the water in 2018, and we're now this year up to 12 seasonal employees, with about 10% of those here from Calvert. So that's us. Thank you. Come by and see us.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Yomi Badmos Momoni. I am the owner and the director of Crutch and Crew, doing business as Kids Campus Early Learning Center. We are in Dunkirk, Maryland. We have 11 classrooms, one of the biggest in the county, 11 classrooms, And we take children from infant to age 12, and we have different programs coming to Kids Campus this fall. So we look forward to working with you all, your little ones, grandbabies, and we are excited to be in Carver County. Thank you.
My name's Julie Oberg. I'm Director of Economic Development, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for being here today and thank you for choosing Calvert County to be home for your businesses. Thank you.
Well, before I read this, I don't have to tell you folks, it's challenging. And, you never know what to expect from day to day. You have this dream to build this business, and I think all entrepreneurs have a little bit of a dreaming type spirit in you, and then all of a sudden you get there and you go, sometimes I think it's a nightmare, and, because if it can go wrong, it's going to. And a lot of times it's going to go right, but, I think that's the roller coaster of it, and at the end of the day, you have to love what you do for it to work, and, I'm a big fan of almost any dream type that any business that you dream, as long as you're realistic about it, you can achieve it, it's hard to grow too fast, but, you have to keep growing. And in today's time, staffing is just a nightmare across the country. It's, so you folks know it's, and it's a new world, I have a friend of mine, she works for a big chain, and I'll leave it out, but, I'm from the generation no internet. So, the technology comes across as this huge challenge, and, if they told you go sweep the sidewalk, you would sweep the sidewalk, sweep the trash up, throw it away. Well, the younger generation, you say sweep the sidewalk, they sweep it and leave the pile. Because they don't know they're supposed to throw that part away. So they hired her to kind of bridge the gap to say, hey, do the whole thing where the folks that aren't from that technology, they'll have a new time clock, and man, they're paralyzed. They're like, ooh, and where the younger generation, they're just fire right into, oh yeah, it just makes sense, and we're witnessing all that happening so fast, and and that's the one thing with small business, you have to be able to move so quick and adjust, and so, like I say, you folks know all those challenges, and but I'm sure, like myself, you're glad at the end of the day that it's what you chose to do. So I want to thank you folks and read this for you, and it says, whereas National Black Business Month was founded in 2004 by Frederick E. Jordan Sr. and John William Templeton to recognize the contributions of black-owned businesses throughout the country and to encourage their continued development. And whereas black-owned businesses account for approximately 2 million companies, or 10% of U.S. businesses, and about 30% of all minority-owned businesses, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. And whereas Calvert County is home to black-owned businesses that provide family-supporting jobs, careers to residents throughout the county, serving as the driving force for the Calvert County Minority Business Alliance. And whereas local governments, chambers of commerce, business associations throughout Maryland must continue working towards inclusion, empowerment, and support for black-owned enterprises. And whereas Calvert County encourages its citizens to support black-owned businesses in their communities during the month of August and throughout the year, and pause to reflect on numerous contributions of black entrepreneurs in our county. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Calvert County that the month of August 2024 be celebrated as recognized as National Black Business Month. Be it further proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners urges every citizen to support our black-owned businesses, given our hands and seal this 30th day of July 24th, signed by all 5 commissioners.
Class of 78 can move forward.
Commissioner Ireland, can you move a little to your right? Thank you.
much. Have a wonderful day. Do you want to get him for that copy? Do you want to get him for that copy? Right around.
I'll see you out there.
You don't bet. I was going to say my 1990.
See me come through all the time? I'm doing my little TV news, but I know, right?
I'm trying. Have a good day. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Well, we have lots of awards today. We took a little summer break, and apparently they all got backed up. So our first award today is the Employee Recognition Committee, June 2024 Employee of the Month. Morning, Brooke.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brooke Barco, Aquatic Division Chief, as well as ERC Chair. So I'm here today to present the June Employee of the Month Award. The Employee of the Month Award acknowledges individual excellence for superior job performance and/or special individual efforts that go above and beyond the employee's normal job duties. So it is my pleasure to introduce the June Employee of the Month Special Facilities Division Chief, Kirsten Perry. If you would like to join me at the front. Kirsten Perry has earned the June 2024 Employee of the Month Award for her outstanding dedication and multifaceted contributions to the Special Facilities Division within the Department of Parks and Recreation. As Special Facilities Division Chief, Kirsten demonstrates exceptional leadership and ensures the smooth operation of Breezy Point Beach and Campground, Chesapeake Hills Golf Course, and their respective concession stands and operations. Her proactive approach and strategic vision has driven the success of numerous projects and events. This spring, she showcased her leadership and ability to professionally execute high-profile events through the Chesapeake Hills Golf Course Clubhouse ribbon-cutting event and grand opening, which I know everyone enjoyed. Kirsten also excels in customer service as a bartender and beverage cart attendant when needed due to short staffing, delighting patrons with her friendly demeanor and attention to detail. Her remarkable versatility is evident in her willingness to work even as grounds maintenance and custodian, maintaining the pristine conditions of her facilities. Kirsten demonstrates her commitment to the division's seamless operations through her readiness to work evenings, weekends, holidays. Her exceptional performance, leadership, and dedication make her very deserving of this award. And since I personally work with Kirsten, I just want to let you know that I'm very proud of you, and we have many people that are here to say kind words as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
First, I want to say thank you to everybody at CCPR for helping me in my job, and obviously my team. I could not do it without the Special Facilities Division Chief team. They're great, and they make this job so enjoyable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Brennan,
Morning.
Director of Parks and Recreation. I wanted to say congratulations to Kirsten. It is a very well-deserved award. You heard in the memo of all the things that she does. There are a few things that weren't listed. I would encourage all of you, if you've never pulled trash at Breezy Point Beach and Campground on a Saturday night, come do it once. You will never come back. Kirsten does things like that without fail. She weeds the gardens at the clubhouse. She does tend the bar. She's actually been somewhat of a hostess for some pretty important meetings recently with the county. So she wears a lot of hats. She's a division chief by day, but most evenings and weekends, for the last several months, she's been working a shift somewhere in her facility. So I appreciate that dedication and her compassion to do a good job. She walks the walk, and I think she's earned the respect for her team, because if you look behind me, most of the special facilities division is here. That might be a problem, so I'm not sure who's working right now, but there are a lot of people that chose to attend in person, and they're behind me, and some of them are a little intimidated to come up here and speak on the mic, but they did want to share their well wishes and state that it's very well deserved. So thank you for the opportunity.
Bob spoke for all.
All right, let's do a picture time.
She hit me last day.
Oh, no. Here's your chance to blink. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Congratulations, Kirsten. Well deserved.
So the next one's Employee Recognition Committee, June 2024 Pride and Quality Award. Brooke?
Good morning, I'm back. So we now have a Pride and Quality Award on behalf of the ERC. This award acknowledges extraordinary job performance that results in greater efficiencies, whether that be time or cost-saving measures to the county, extraordinary public service, and/or positive impact to public perception of government. So it is my honor to invite up GIS analyst Sierra Newsom. Sierra Newsom deserves the Pride and Quality Award for her crucial role in maintaining and enhancing mapping applications within emergency communications. Sierra proactively explores innovative solutions, improving mapping data quality in collaboration with fire departments to aid first responders. Her commitment ensures accurate and timely map updates, which are essential for effective emergency response anywhere within Calvert County. Sierra's real-world application of technical skills are best demonstrated in her master's capstone project, where she developed a machine learning flood model that has significantly enhanced Calvert County's flood prediction and planning. Her timely contributions during the 2024 Flood Mitigation Plan update have addressed critical data gaps, advancing the county's flood response capabilities and ability to protect lives and property. Sierra's commitment to excellence and public safety significantly enhances our emergency services and community well-being, making her a deserving recipient of the Pride and Quality Award. Congratulations, Sierra. I now invite up Sierra's coworkers.
Thank you, guys. I just want to thank my colleagues and management team that recognized my effort, and I'm just really grateful to be receiving this award. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stanley Harris, Division Chief Emergency Communications. Sierra's been with the county for about 2 years, and her ability to immerse herself in the public safety culture and really understand what we need as her customers and provide those timely map updates and really listen to what we're asking for makes it our job, us able to do our job. You know, if we don't have accurate addresses, we can't send the fire trucks, we can't send the police to the citizens of Calvert County. So without her, we couldn't do that, and she's really irreplaceable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley.
Commissioners, my name is Michael Clark. I am the County Fire Chief. I am appointed by the Calvert County Volunteer Fire Rescue and EMS Association. There's many times that I come into Sierra's office and I throw some stuff at her and she gives me a weird look, and within 24 hours it's completed. Sierra went through and updated all 117 of our box areas within GIS. She has provided street data so we can ensure our hydrant versus non-hydrant areas. And her latest project assisting me is identifying all of the fire and rescue boats between the Chesapeake Bay and the Rappahannock River on both sides of the bay. So, Sierra, thank you. It's well-deserved, and keep it up.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kara Buckmaster, Emergency Management Specialist. While you're lining up for your picture, I just want to tell you a little bit more about that machine learning model that Sierra built for her master's capstone. I know it's a lot of big words, and even I have a hard time understanding it, but that product that she built, she spent several months of her own time working on it. That is something we probably would have paid a contractor $30,000 to $50,000 to develop for the county, and she did that at the exact moment that we identified a really significant need for our mitigation planning. So she really has gone above and beyond and done great things for our department.
Thank you.
Last one, I promise. Crystal Dowd, Public Safety Deputy Director. I just want to thank Sierra for all of her hard work and thank you for recognizing her. Thanks. Congratulations.
Next award is Department of Parks and Recreation Thurman Gray Memorial Scholarship Educational Award. Bob?
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Brent, I'm Director of Parks and Recreation. And if I could have Connor join me at the microphone. So this is... So we sent a letter to Mr. Giacomini to express why he was selected to win this award. So I'd like to just read a small portion of that, and then we'll let Connor say a few words. And I think he has a few fans behind me that want to speak as well. So first, we say congratulations on being selected as the recipient of the 2024 Calvert County Parks and Recreation Thurman Gray Memorial Scholarship Education Award. This is truly an outstanding accomplishment. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Department, as well as the Board of County Commissioners, I want to express our admiration for your hard work, dedication, and exceptional achievements. Your commitment to academic excellence combined with your passion for sports media has qualified you for this award. The Scholarship Committee recognized your exceptional talents, potential, and the positive impact you have demonstrated both in your academic pursuits and your community involvement, especially with your coaching and mentorship abilities. Receiving the scholarship not only acknowledges your past achievements, but also serves as a testament to your future potential. It reflects the belief that others here have in your abilities and the confidence that they have in your capacity to make a significant contribution in your chosen field. As you embark on the next chapter of your educational journey, we encourage you to make the most of this scholarship. Embrace every opportunity it presents, both academically and beyond the classroom. So without further ado, it's Connor Giacomini that wins this award.
Hello, I just wanted to say I'm very thankful for the opportunity I've been given, and I've had a great time with Parks and Rec, and I hope for the next 4 years that I do well in college and I play some football and come back and help coach a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Taylor Morton, Sports Assistant Coordinator for Parks and Rec. So I've had the honor to coach with Connor in our basketball league, and he knows I beat him one-on-one any day, but we'll talk about that later. I just want to say I'm so proud of you. You're a team player. You're a role model. I can't wait to see what your future holds, and I know you're going to do an incredible job at college playing football, and I just want to say I'm really proud of you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Stillwagon, Park and Safety Division Chief. So Mr. Connor here for 3 years coached with me Parks and Rec girls basketball. His little sister and my daughter, who are both here to support Connor today. I'm a little emotional, but I'm so excited for you, Connor. You are an amazing athlete at Northern. You've been a role model for kids in this community. You represent what we want to have here. I wish you all the best, honey. We're so proud of you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Connor's parents are in attendance, his family, so if they'd like to come up to be in the picture, that would be great.
Oh, come on.
There we go, there we go.
Thank you. Have a great day. Congratulations.
And last but not least, Department of Planning and Zoning 2024 Historic Preservation Award.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Sperling, Historic Preservation Planner. Calvert County Historic District Commission has been presenting the annual Historic Preservation Award since 1989, with the exception of the 2021 COVID pandemic year. The awards recognize outstanding achievements and excellence in protecting and preserving Calvert County's cultural heritage. Members of the Historic District Commission reviewed one nomination for this year's award, which will be conferred today. The Historic Preservation Award recipient for 2024 in the category of education is Preservation of Calvert County's Cultural Heritage and History of the Patuxent River, Dr. Ralph Eshelman. Come on up. Now, I believe that most people here know of Dr. Eshelman's amazing history in this county. But to briefly recap, Dr. Eshelman received his PhD in 1974 from the University of Michigan. Among his many accolades, founding vice president of the National Maritime Task Force for the National Trust for Historic Preservation, served as a historian for the Star-Spangled Banner Historic Trail. Of course, as we probably mostly know Dr. Eshelman, first director of the Calvert County Marine Museum in Solomon's Island. Between 1974 and 1977, he was the project director for the team that moved, renovated, and interpreted the Drum Point Lighthouse at the Calvert Maritime Museum. Dr. Eshelman has over 70 historical and scientific publications and has had 5 published books, including The War of 1812 in the Chesapeake, A Travel Guide to the War of 1812, Chesapeake Legends and Lore, and In the Full Glory Reflected, Discovering the War of 1812 in the Chesapeake. He is currently working on a book about the Patuxent River. Dr. Eshelman?
Well, thank you to those in front of me and to those behind me. It's indeed a great honor. I'm very humbled by this, and I want to thank all of those who are responsible for making this recognition. I plan on taking this certificate upon receiving it and putting it in my office. And I spend way too many hours in that office, but it is my happy place. And having this certificate hanging on the wall of my office will make it even happier. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up, sir. There we go. You can stand right in the middle. We're going to take your picture. Watch your step. Oh my God. You got the memo. All the smiles are natural, so this is good. Congratulations.
So the next item on the agenda is a public hearing, Department of Public Safety, self-contained breathing apparatus replacement budget amendment. Chief Richardson. Chief Clark.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Richardson, Division Chief for the Department of Public Safety's Fire Rescue EMS Division.
Michael Clark, Calvert County Fire Chief.
Crystal Dowd, Public Safety Deputy Director.
Commissioners, there's one public hearing scheduled for today. The hearing was duly advertised, and the certificate of publication is made part of the record of the hearing. Citizens are invited to provide comment on the hearing after the presentation has concluded. Anyone here in person must sign in on the sign-up sheet next to the attorney to speak. A background, the Calvert County Fire Rescue and EMS departments must replace the self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, for all departments meeting the compliance requirements of the National Fire Protection Association. SCBA standards. SCBAs provide firefighters with an autonomous supply of breathable gas in an atmosphere that is immediately dangerous to life and health, or what's known as IDLH. Replacing all SCBAs will ensure interoperability among all county fire rescue EMS departments that function together in emergency operations. The Department of Public Safety Fire Rescue EMS Division advises that replacing the SCBA for all county fire rescue and EMS departments be incorporated into the fiscal year FY 2025 capital improvements CIP plan for a total cost of $4,551,000. Fiscal impact, the self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, replacement project will be assigned CIP 000320, budget adjustment BA 2025-000002, and has been created to appropriate $4,541,000 under debt. Conclusion recommendation, the Department of Public Safety Fire Rescue EMS Division requests the Board of County Commissioners conduct a public hearing and, if deemed appropriate, based on the record, approve and adopt the proposed resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-00002 to appropriate $4,541,000 to CIP 320 to replace the self-contained breathing apparatus for all county fire rescue and EMS departments. The floor has been open for public comment on the hearing. Resolution 6-89 was adopted and is available here today to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. Those attending in person will be invited to speak first. For those joining virtually, if you wish to speak, press *9 or use the raise your hand function. Virtual participants will be identified by their screen name or last 4 digits of their phone number and unmuted one at a time. Speakers will be asked to state their name and address. Speakers who are providing comment as individuals will be allocated 2 minutes. Speakers who are designated representatives of a group will be allocated 5 minutes.
Mr. President, no one has signed in person, but virtually we do have one who has raised their hand. Mr. Cormier, if you would please identify yourself, whether speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'll be speaking on behalf of myself this morning. My name is Joe Cormier, and I want to offer my support on this budget adjustment. We don't just need to meet the letter of the law or the suggestions from the national organizations for the safety. We need to be doing this for our volunteers who risk their lives and put their lives on hold to come out when we're at our worst and at our greatest need. So I hope that you'll be able to support this for our volunteer and career firefighters so that all of their equipment is interchangeable and works together. This is an important step to bring our equipment into the 21st century and make sure that our volunteers and our career firefighters are given every tool they need to protect us and protect themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, that is the only speaker.
So Chief Clark, the issue that you all are trying to address is that we have several different departments here in Calvert County. You roll up on a working fire. Everybody may not have the same breathing apparatus, and you could get in a situation where you can't share. And so this would have everybody using the exact same equipment.
That is correct, sir.
It's all interchangeable. Not that we don't have 21st century equipment.
Yeah, we do have 21st century equipment, so let's not get that,
Yeah, we
that
don't-
skewed.
we don't wanna
But,
start that.
currently, there's 4 different variations of the SCBA packs within Calvert County right now.
Right.
Basically, what that boils down to in layman's terms is if Huntingtown goes to St. Leonard, or St. Leonard goes to Dunkirk, or Dunkirk goes to Solomons, we might not be able to breathe with each other. That's a significant issue that was identified. Also, these packs are good for 15 years, so this one-time bulk purchase will not have to be made again until 15 years from now. There is a slight budget for maintenance, but that's already included.
And I want to thank Chief Clark and a couple of representatives from the association brought this to our attention back early in the budget process. And it's not, we're not adding $4.5 million to the expense column in the budget, but we're just realigning. They were able to push out some other purchases and save that money, because when he first came to me and said, we need $4.5 million for this, I said, we ain't got $4.5 million. So I want to thank Chief Clark and those other representatives for their efforts to find the money within their own budget, which we greatly appreciate. And because they saw this as a higher priority and much more important. And I think also since this budget was developed, we believe it's not going to be $4.5 million.
No, sir.
We have some information that it's going to be significantly less than
Correct.
that, so.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so.
Always good.
Yeah, good thing. So just want to take this opportunity to thank you and your team for their efforts.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Chief, how long will it take to get this equipment? I know in today's world, it's
90 days.
That's
90
it?
days from the day we order.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's phenomenal.
Yes, sir.
Wow, good.
Well, it might take us 6 months to get the bid together, but.
Ready for the motion, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I move that we close the record and approve and adopt the proposed resolution and budget amendment BA 2025-000002 to appropriate $4,541,000 to CIP -000320 to replace a self-contained breathing apparatus for all county fire and rescue and EMS departments.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Absolutely. Next item on the agenda is appointments. Madam Deputy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Turner, Deputy County Administrator. We have several appointments for your consideration and approval today. First is the Building Board of Calvert County. Staff recommends you reappoint Donald Dembro to the Building Board of Calvert County. Following this appointment, there will be no vacancies remaining.
I move that we reappoint Donald Dembro to the Building Board of Calvert County.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. The next commission is Calvert County Commission for Women. Staff recommends you reappoint Anna Grabowska and appoint Melissa Shaming to the Calvert County Commission for Women. Following these appointments, there will be 6 vacancies that will be filled at a later date.
I move that we reappoint Anna Grabowska and appoint Melissa Samming to the Calvert County Commission for Women.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just while we're talking about that, we have lots of boards and committees and commissions that have vacancies. If you have some free time, want to give back to your community, I ask that you would check the county website and see what vacancies exist, and if you have some expertise that could support that mission, we would ask that you would apply. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is consent. We have several items under consent today. Item 1, Employee Recognition Committee, amended bylaws. Item 2, Department of Planning and Zoning, Flood Mitigation Plan. Item 3, Department of Community Resources, Fiscal Year 2025, Calvert County Family Network Agreement. Tri-County Council for Southern Maryland Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Outreach and Enrollment. Item 4, Department of Finance and Budget, Budget Amendment, ARPA Project, Stormwater Septic at Battle Creek. Are there any objections to those items under consent today?
I have none. I move that we adopt and approve the consent agenda items.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is new business. Item 1, Department of Finance and Budget Declaration of Intent of the County to Reimburse from Bonds or Other Debt Obligations. Director Miller.
Good morning, Bruce Miller, Finance Director, for the record. Before you for consideration is the declaration of intent of county to reimburse from bonds or other debt obligations. And again, as mentioned earlier, this is really for compliance, IRS tax compliance purposes. Background, the Board of County Commissioners intends to issue tax-exempt bonds or other debt obligations to finance certain projects in the fiscal year 25 capital budget. And these items are outlined in Table 1 under discussion. If it's all right, I will not read that. So fiscal year impact, if funds are expended for the projects in Table 1 before the issuance of tax-exempt bonds or other debt obligations, a resolution of intent to reimburse is required to reimburse the general fund from the proceeds of such bonds or obligations. Conclusion and recommendation, the Department of Finance and Budget requests the Board of County Commissioners review and if deemed appropriate, approve, adopt, sign the resolution which indicates the intent to reimburse the general fund from the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds or other debt obligations. Thank you.
Questions?
So we're potentially bonding paving, huh? I mean, it's been done before, I just.
Yeah, as part of the CIP adoption, there are items that are identified as borrowing. And a lot of times, the county will not go out and do a bond issuance before expenditures are incurred.
Are we thinking placeholder at this point, or potentially that may be the avenue we have to go?
For the bond itself?
For the paving, yeah.
Well, the bond itself, I don't anticipate doing any large general obligations for this fiscal year. So it's definitely imperative that we have this reimbursement. Otherwise, for IRS purposes, we could not reimburse ourselves with those bonds.
I think the goal of the list, Commissioner Hart, is we only have one opportunity to do this. If we don't do this now, for the
yes,
rest of the
correct.
year, we won't. So I think
Right.
they just put projects on there just in case.
Yeah.
So it's not, doesn't mean they're automatically, that's gonna happen, but at least they're there and they have the option when the
Yes,
time
sir.
comes.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all, yeah. I mean, it's important, it's essential, I just, hadn't seen it in a while.
Well, it's my understanding, it's, the county has done it annually, as part of the process. And other, entities, governments, it's just part of the annual
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to run afoul of the reimbursement schedules, because then it goes from a tax exempt to taxable, and there's other ramifications. So even if you don't do it, it's best to do it.
Yeah.
I think county administrator might heard a wise man say one time, no matter what you have, you need a road to get there. Have you heard that before?
Yes, sir. He's no longer with us.
And I'll say you.
Any other discussion?
I have none. Mr. President, I move that we approve, adopt, sign the resolution indicating the intent to reimburse the general fund from the proceeds of tax-exempt bonds and other debt obligations.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director. Item 2, Department of Community Resources, fiscal year 2025, long-term care and dementia Care Navigation Grant. I'm very interested in this one because I'm getting closer every day.
Let's open
I want to make sure there's resources available for me.
That's what we do.
I-
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Jacqueline Culver, Deputy Director of Community Resources, joined by Ed Sullivan.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ed Sullivan, Division Chief of the Office on Aging. So we'll get started with the memo here and this long-term care and dementia care, as you mentioned, Commissioner Hans, navigation grant. Some background. The Department of Community Resources Office on Aging has received a new grant opportunity and funding allocation through the fiscal year 25 long-term care and dementia care navigation grant from the Maryland Department of Aging in the amount of $20,810 to enhance or adapt existing programming to provide new or existing services for persons with symptoms of dementia and their caregivers. Discussion. The Maryland Department of Aging has allocated the Calvert County Office on Aging with $20,810 for the program, as we've mentioned. The Calvert County Office on Aging will use the funding as outlined in the attached budget adjustment, BA 2025-00001, and I certainly can answer any questions about that budget amendment. The fiscal impact. This grant will provide $20,810 in additional funding to the Office on Aging with no county funding match required. Conclusion and recommendation. The Department of Community Resources Office on Aging requests the Board of County Commissioners review and, if appropriate, authorize the approval of the grant application and budget adjustment as mentioned.
So what would this money be used to actually do?
Well, in our planning, Commissioner Hans, good question. We have allocated $13,000 of that or so for to hire a part-time contracted staff member to be the point of contact for Calvert County residents, caregivers, and perhaps those with dementia, to be a resource and the primary resource for the Office on Aging to provide resources for the family. So that person, we're already doing some of this work, obviously, with our current staff at the Office on Aging, but we feel like we could use some additional help, and this funding would be perfect for some additional help to take some. Our MAP staff, as you all know, are extremely busy, and they're professionals, and they've always done their job, and they will continue to do so. But we know that this additional staff member, if approved, will be the primary point of contact for, and to connect families with different resources in the county. There is one other aspect, Commissioner Hans and Commissioners, with this funding. There is a non-clinical screening tool, again, a non-clinical screening tool that the staff member will be trained on. So if families had concerns, caregivers had concerns about a loved one with the onset of dementia, that screening tool is just a tool to help caregivers and families, point them in the right direction, connect them with their primary care doctor, and that sort of thing. We certainly want to make them aware of the current resources we have, our 3 senior centers, certainly our partnerships with multiple county partners, and that's what this staff member will do.
So I'm going to give you an opportunity to put a plug in for the resources that you already have available for this.
Thank you, sir. As you all know, and as the citizens certainly should know, we have 3 senior centers in Calvert County. We have an information and assistance team at all 3 senior centers, and they are there to take phone calls from our citizens Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, and they are great resources to connect caregivers, and it may not be caregiver, it could be financial assistance. Certainly, as you know, we're under the Department of Community Resources. Seniors may need financial assistance, seniors may need housing, meals, food insecurity, Meals on Wheels, home delivered meals, certainly congregate meals at our 3 senior centers. And we partner with the health department on several programs. We're getting ready to hopefully partner with a group to assist our veterans in Calvert County to bring them to Southern Pines Senior Center. We're excited about the potential of that partnership. There are so many things, Commissioner Hans, to mention, but certainly food, housing, monetary assistance if needed, all of those things and more, and just recreational opportunities at our 3 senior centers.
Just, unless you live through it, you don't really comprehend how bad it is. when people reach a certain stage, especially when you have seniors living by themselves, may not have close family close by, somebody's checking on them once in a while, but just trying to help get the word out that there is help. People can call the senior center, community resources, and get some help.
Certainly, Commissioner Hance, the Calvert Pine Senior Center, 410-535-4606, and we are here to help if we can help.
Absolutely.
In our aging county, you provide such a valuable service. My dad, who passed away last year, the year that he was dying, along with his 8 children being there, one of us there every day to help out, we had 24/7 care, and it cost $217,000. Average family can't afford that. There's enough of us that we could pitch in and we could do. But this is such a wonderful service because as we get older, health care, any kind of care for our elderly is very, very cost prohibitive for most families.
Thank you, Commissioner Grasso, and I do want to mention that the possibility of in-home health care, of course, we collaborate with the state on this, as you know, so there's also the possibility of in-home health care for citizens as needed. And it is important that citizens know that these things are available to them, and community resources and ourselves, we want to help if we can, so citizens, let us know.
Yeah, because you're frustrated and you don't know where to turn.
Absolutely, absolutely, so.
Thank you. Motion? He's here for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we approve and authorize the submission of the grant application, authorize the president to sign the necessary grant documents, and approve and adopt budget adjustment BA-20225-000001.
Second.
You sure you had enough zeros in there?
I think so.
I counted.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioners, appreciate it, thank you very much.
So the next item on the agenda is an update for the zoning ordinance. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mary Beth Cook, Director of Planning and Zoning. With me is Will Hager, our zoning planner, and Rachel O'Shea. She's the zoning planner, he's the planner 3. And in the audience is Jason Brinkley, our Deputy of Planning, and Judy Makel, Deputy of Zoning. We're going to be going through a presentation and swapping out some seats so that, because Jason's going to be covering the capacity analysis. I just wanted to let you know that after a year of work sessions with the Planning Commission, we're here for decisions. We'd like to get some buy-in and decisions on topics today so that we can be working on the second draft of the zoning ordinance. We heard comments from citizens. We had a lot of back and forth at these meetings. We're going to make a lot of changes. We've heard what the citizens had to say, and we're just here to get some final decisions so that we can wrap that up and release the second draft. So with that, I will turn it over to Rachel and Will.
Thank you, Mary, for that introduction, and good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning, Will.
So as Mary mentioned, the purpose of this presentation is to go over and discuss some topics that are unresolved. And those topics you can see listed on this slide here. They include plan unit developments, short-term rentals, electric vehicle charging stations, minimum parking space requirements, the location of the new IMU district, agricultural, seafood, livestock processing, building permits for accessory structures, electronic message centers, grandfather development plans, and also a timeline for adoption of the zoning ordinance update. And towards the end of the presentation, we also have a few slides on the capacity analysis as a follow-up to what was presented at the joint work session earlier this year.
Mr. President, before we get started, are we taking these one by one?
Yes, I forgot to mention that. We're going to go through
through
each
it
topic, pause, have questions, comments, and then ask you to provide direction. Thank you.
And on that note, we'll start with planned unit developments. So a section addressing planned unit developments, or sometimes they're referred to as PUDs, was included in Article 25 of the 2023 draft zoning ordinance. A planned unit development is a mixed-use development that must combine residential with a combination of recreational, commercial, or institutional elements. The goal of a PUD is to achieve a substantially higher quality development that provides a public benefit that would otherwise not be obtained. And one key factor with a PUD is that a PUD proposal requires Board of County Commissioner approval.
Oh, could you go back? On that first one, the goal of a PUD is to achieve a substantially higher quality development that provides a public benefit that would otherwise not be obtained. What is the public benefit? And why wouldn't it be obtained?
It really could be up to the applicant, whatever they want to include with their proposal. And, I mean, it could range anywhere from anything, really. A library, a community center, something that would typically not be included in a normal application that comes into the office for review. It's something in addition, kind of like a give and take. That, you know, if we're requesting that, you know, if you give us some leniency or some flexibility that we don't have to adhere to these regulations and we can do this instead, here's what we're going to add to this package that is going to further benefit the public, whereas normally it would not be included in an application.
Okay, the last bullet on that page, a PUD proposal requires the BOCC approval, no one else's approval. It doesn't go out to the public for public comment. Is that accurate?
The development plans would still go through the review process through planning and zoning, just as any other development application. But in addition to that, the agreement list or the terms of the agreement would have to be negotiated with the BOCC and signed off on.
And then go back out to the public so the public knows what we have negotiated, what we have added, what we have detracted. This is 100% transparent for the public to have input.
It can be. We can certainly add language to the draft that
Could you require a public
adds
hearing?
requirement for
So-
first public notice or.
Having done a couple PUDs.
Do we have PUDs in Calvert County? Did you do them here?
No, because PUDs are not allowed here
Okay.
today.
Why aren't they allowed here?
It's not incorporated into the zoning ordinance. When Article 66B, Section 13 was adopted, was probably 2004. Prior to that, contract zoning was not permitted. When that was adopted, planned unit developments became the method for contract zoning. It's actually not a negotiation. It's a proposal from the developer that does go through a public hearing process before the Planning Commission under the state law. Planning Commission then makes a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, one, whether it's consistent with your comprehensive plan and any of your town center master plans that might be applicable, and also makes a recommendation as to whether or not the Board of County Commissioners should approve it. And then that goes to a public hearing before the Board of County Commissioners, because it is actually creating what is a mini zoning ordinance that just applies to that piece of property.
Okay, your planning commission is only as good as the people you put on it. Is there any way, if the BOCC did not agree to the developer's request, that their wishes could be squashed if the planning commission goes for it, and then it goes to that higher appeal board? Does this open up that, or is the final word with the BOCC?
It's a legislative approval, so it does not go to the Board of Appeals, it goes to the Board of County Commissioners. If it got appealed to the circuit court, the threshold for review of a legislative decision is very high, and the court is not likely to overturn a decision of the Board of County Commissioners that is a legislative decision like this without some arbitrary or capricious findings, some inappropriate action by the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
So, I have a few questions. It sounds like it makes the county code irrelevant. If there's a project and there's something county code dictates must happen, it gives the board the authority to say that that ordinance no longer applies if they're satisfied with the offer from the builder. Is that correct?
I would say it's more of a, they're writing their own ordinance, so they're not gonna throw away the zoning
Right,
ordinance.
but
They're
if-
gonna take certain pieces of it and say, we can make a more attractive, more, maybe more dense, maybe they need some setback adjustments. They're just gonna make a list of what they're requesting and then offer what their public benefit is gonna be.
I think my biggest concern with this is, you know, you put the codes in place, this takes away, and stop me if I'm wrong on any of this, takes away public input, public hearings, unless a board would want that.
No, it requires
No.
a public hearing.
We're gonna
Does it
have it.
require public?
Yes.
So can
Two public hearings.
Can three commissioners say, hey, we'll allow this even though the code says no, because we're getting something over here?
So the code is allowing it. So
Right.
it's making these adjustments, going to the planning commission for a public hearing, getting their recommendation. You still have the ultimate voting authority, whether you feel.
So with that said, so let me take two people and just give me a little latitude. Both want to open a restaurant. We have parking restrictions on how many parking spots per tables. Solomon's is like the only one that does this shared thing. But Restaurant A's got a lot of money, and he's got a great relationship with board members, and he says, hey, I'll build you something over here if you relax your parking regulation. Person B doesn't have that kind of money, and he can't buy you something over here. So person A can build his restaurant, or person B cannot, because he's got nothing to offer.
So there would be consideration for, you know, does this meet the comprehensive plan? Are we,
I mean, if code said he, just doesn't have enough parking spaces, then he has to go by county code because he doesn't have something financially to offer. And it seems to me he's buying his way for a more relaxed, code. And to me, that sets a table for a whole lot of corruption. And it sets a table for people that, they prey on you when you're new. They come out because they know you don't know. You haven't been through the ringer yet. You haven't been abused and beat up because they're good. They're good. These people are professionals that travel the country. And I could go all day long with different stories on stuff. But to me, you put a code in place, it's the same for everybody. No matter how much money you have or what you can pay for. That is what's fair in the business world. Big corporations are able to go in and do this same exact thing where the small business owner cannot because they can barely afford to do what they're doing. But they have a fair business as well. They're providing a service as well, but if and I can think of places even down my way where they'd want to move walls to expand their restaurant, but they don't have the parking spaces. So to me, this is a very slippery slope, and sometimes all you have to do is just wait out a board, and say, hey, we got our guy lined up. When we get there, we know we got him. I mean, they count. I've seen it. I've sat there where they've counted on commissioners that they know are going to vote their way. And say, hey, we're not going to support this guy because we know he doesn't support. And that's too broad a stroke. I believe that the table should be fair for everybody and the rules are the same. I am adamantly against these PUDs because it relies on the credibility of who sits in these seats. And I think it just puts too much power on these seats and not enough on the public out there and staff. I think it puts pressure on staff to come up with ways And how do you explain that to business A or B that they couldn't do something that somebody else does? I just think it's an unfair practice.
This is considered spot zoning, isn't it?
Contract
PUD.
zoning,
Contract zoning?
yes.
Okay, contract
Which
zoning.
is allowed. I mean, this is a successful planning tool that's used across the country. And I really think the desire is to get a more attractive product. I can't imagine, I'm not going to say it won't be done, but, they're willing to build a community center to have reduced parking, I mean, they're going to have to be able to put out a substantial amount of money.
And I'm being polite with that thing, I mean, it can get much more devious than that. And I've sat there and watched it. We all remember, and I'm not gonna name the group, we all remember the group that was out there. And it gained a lot of momentum, a lot of speed, and, it was very organized.
Well, and that's why we had such a large lawsuit against the county, is because deals were being made. And did this, when we had our Wednesday meetings, did the PUD ever come up? I don't remember having it come before us, but I could be wrong. Because when I saw this, I was very surprised, and I thought we put this to rest, and to see it here again surprised me.
So it was in the original draft. I don't know
Was
that
it?
we specifically brought attention to it during,
Okay.
we tried to hit high-level items that we knew that we were going to need to discuss.
Okay.
But, yeah, this may be the first time that we're actually looking for a decision, keep it in or take it out.
Okay, thank you.
So my opinion, I think it's a valuable tool to put in a toolbox. And I'll give you an example of that. Let's go back to Armory Square. I believe we had, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Beth, we had 4 or 5 text amendments
We did,
with the first group.
yes.
If we had a PUD, we would not have been there. The second group has gone through, and if we had a PUD with the second group, we could have navigated what the citizens' wants and needs through town halls. And we could get their opinions, and we can navigate with the developer early on and not at a late stage of what they want, what the citizens want in development. And like you said, I just think it's a valuable tool that we need to put in the text amendment.
How did we know what the citizens wanted when we made those changes for Armory Square? Did we take it out to the citizens and ask them what they wanted?
We can't, so we can't talk to a developer early on until we get through the conceptual plan and what have you. But if on a PUD, we could start that discussion earlier, and we could navigate the pros, the cons of this.
So the text amendments did go through the public hearing process, so
Yes, so the
citizens
public-
were able to weigh in.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. Good, so we did it the right way.
yes,
Okay. It just took us a little extra time.
it did.
Okay.
And we got nothing from it. They got the amendments that they wanted, and we got no public benefit in return.
What do you mean?
So the plan unit development is where they can offer, we'll build a library, we'll build a community center in exchange for these regulations that we need altered.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's kind of slippery slope to me. But we, down in Lusby, we had promises that were made that haven't been accomplished just through our regular zoning, so, okay.
So let me give you an example, tell me if this would apply. So on my second term, I got a phone call, person wanted to put apartments on Dow Road, but the zoning doesn't allow for it. Would the PUD say, okay, 3 commissioners could just say, all right, we're gonna change the zoning right there on the spot, and they could put those apartments?
So it doesn't change the zoning, but they could,
Well, it's not zoned for it, so would this
Right.
PUD allow you to change zoning to do those apartments at that point?
yes, because essentially
And,
they're
and see,
writing their own.
that's where I'm going. And my dialogue, I'll be straight up, my dialogue with that person, you guys know I'm excitable. And it was nasty because he demanded me to do so. because he had contributed, he had donated to my campaign my first and second time. And he demanded this. And if you were on the other end of that thing, I'm telling you, there was enough words. I mean, I hadn't been that mad in a long time, and that was a big eye-opener to me because I hadn't heard anything like that my first term. But my second term, I really got the education. And I thought to myself, my gosh, to have the power, that's a single-lane road down there. That's there's a lot of older folks live down there. You got the nursing center down there. To bring that many units and that much traffic, I don't deserve that kind of power. No one does. You know, when it's something zoned, it's zoned that way for a reason. And when you move to it or go to it, that's what your perception is it's going to be for a long time. You know, you sit there and put everything you own into a home, and then you're thinking, hey, I'll retire here 25, 30 years. Now somebody wins a popularity contest, and because a guy gave you a few $100s, you can buy some signs up like this. I mean, I was beyond offended. And that day right there really sculpted my attitude on where this goes. And like I said, can you imagine anywhere in this county, doesn't matter, Dunkirk, anywhere, Dunkirk to Solomons, that for three to have that kind of power to go, well, they put a swing set over there. I mean, there's not even a requirement what the county would get. And to disrupt somebody's way of life like that, what he wanted to do was a huge unit. It would have been 500 plus cars on that single lane road. And
But Mike, your first board did this stuff without a PUD.
not like that.
Your first
They
board
did the Prince Frederick.
changed all the zoning and the text
No,
amendments to
no.
do Armory Squared.
That one, yes.
Yes,
And that was my learning curve. And
But my point is here, without a PUD, Mike, 3 votes, Commissioner Hart, 3 votes can do anything they want.
well, they may.
They can.
They may.
Mr.
But I don't-
County Attorney, can't 3 votes sitting at these chairs change anything they want?
Yes.
But I don't have to be a part of it.
Even if you
And-
don't
and
have the
that-
power
and
to
I've-
create a PUD, you can still rezone.
But I've apologized publicly on that many times for the mistakes I made in my first 4 years, and it's not an excuse. You know, you pay me to be accurate. You pay me to go all through this. You know, I was extremely consumed with the LNG facility when it was being built, which is no excuse. But these guys play you like a piano, and I at that point talked to former commissioners that had been through this and seen I was just one of many that was in line for this, because at the end of the day, greed wins. Greed always wins. It's been here since mankind's been out here, and I just don't have to be a part of it. Not saying that yes, 3 commissioners can do whatever they want at any given time. I just don't have to be a part of it.
So the second bullet point spells out a PUD as being a mixed-use development that must combine residential with a combination of recreational, commercial, and/or institutional elements. I don't believe the first analogy was a fair one based on that definition. Senior housing, as Community Resources mentioned earlier, is definitely a need here in the county, as is startup housing. I mean, how many parents have kids in the county can't afford to live here? Kids are moving from here to DC to apartments because they're more affordable, because they're walkable communities, much like our comprehensive plan spells out, being vibrant, walking communities, which we don't have here. The PUD, to me, could give an opportunity to align with our comprehensive plan and have those walkable, vibrant communities, as well as provide housing to seniors, to startup housing, other than the apartment options that we currently have. It also gives the ability to plan for community needs. I mean, there's needs in the community. You go out here, we've talked about public hearings. There's a public hearing here. Prior to public hearing here, there'll be one at the Planning Commission. I believe the PUD needs to be restrictive, and that definition is restrictive as to what can be done, or what the PUD, I think we still need to do some work on it, obviously, but I think we could put some restrictions in the PUD that would help move things along.
So, Mr. County Attorney, what kind of restrictions can you put in?
You can, when adopting this zoning ordinance in December, with public input and the planning commission's recommendations, you can put caveats like that second bullet, that it be a mixed-use development, or that a PUD be, incorporate things like inclusionary zoning for senior housing or affordable workforce housing. All of those restrictions can be put on to even qualify to be able to use the tool, if you wish.
And can we put town halls in there also?
That's a
Town
good,
halls
You can
would be-
expand the requirement. You can't reduce
To
the
get public
requirements, but
input.
you can expand the requirements for public participation, yes. The other thing I did want to mention, the Open Meetings Act does not allow zoning to be discussed in closed sessions. So if the Board of County Commissioners were to actively engage in negotiations, which is rare, it would have to be done in open session. It's more often that the developer works a proposal that they think satisfies the community's wants or needs and presents that to the Planning Commission, and then it works its way up through the process.
So they never call you on the phone and ask you to do it, huh? Oh, sorry, I must have misunderstood.
Never
Sorry.
sat in that seat, sir.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm torn about PUDs. My left side fights with my right side all the time over PUD because I hear Commissioner Hart.
I lived it.
I
saw it firsthand.
But my other side says they did it without a PUD.
And it was wrong.
You did it without a PUD.
It was
So
wrong.
it can still happen tomorrow without a PUD.
It was wrong, but you make it harder. Make them have to do it in front of those folks out there. They grilled me, they drilled me, and beat me to a pulp, and they were right because of my inexperience. I was sold a bill of goods that I didn't even have to do. Oh, if you do this, it'll help this one over here, and you didn't even have to do that. I'm standing at Southern Pines with former Commissioner Clark and Tony O'Donnell, who was delegate at the time, and they said, "You got a problem. You don't have enough senior apartments." I'm brand new. We don't. This thing's already maxed out. And here they come. Oh, if you do this, you do that, you do this. Oh, we'll do senior apartments, we'll do that. Well, you don't see them, do you? I've been here 10 years. You see them? Because I sure don't. So, like I say, I don't have to be a part of it. I made mistakes once. You know, I don't plan. I'm doing the best I can not to continue to make mistakes and trying to do the best I can every day. And there ain't no owner's manual how to do this job. And so, like I say, I've apologized so many times. I've had people come to me and say, "Would you stop apologizing? You're going to make them think you really shouldn't have that job." And I'm like, I make a mistake, and all I can do is try to fix it. And there was a lot of mistakes made right then because, you know, the paper put in there how green I was, and I was offended because I'm like, "Hey, I'm just as good. I wanted." No, they saw me coming, and they worked me. And it was a hard education to have to swallow and look at people every day in the grocery store and still have to answer to those mistakes I made 10 years ago. But I just don't plan it. I'm doing my best not to make any more in the future.
I hear you.
So we did have one more slide here, but I think that we've thoroughly covered the substance of all of the bullets on that slide. So I think we can skip ahead to the big question.
Can I ask you one thing? Give me an example of the third bullet on that second page. Allow a developer to take advantage of special site characteristics, locations, and land uses. What does that mean? Give me an example.
That'd be a critical area, wouldn't it?
If I could,
I mean, we live on an island.
one of the first PUDs that I was ever aware of is Wildwood. Wildwood's provisions for the residential development allowed the builder to place the house without setting the property lines first, so that they could work around the trees in the forest. That's why the old section of Wildwood looks the way it does.
Anything else?
But they couldn't impact critical areas because
Well,
that's
so I'm asking, can
state.
they-
That is a
No,
good
this does
example.
not
Would the state,
preempt
would the
state
state
laws.
override that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
That is a good example to use. I mean, a lot of, especially for Calvert, since it is, you know, has a lot of, you know, steep slopes, environmental sensitive areas, terrain to work around. If developers were allowed to take a different approach, do things in a little bit different way that's not traditional, you know, they would be able to maybe work around some of those characteristics to give them flexibility to come up with a good development.
So I need a better example.
I do too.
I need a better example. Because the new regs have slopes restrictions in them, right?
Correct, and they've actually been strengthened.
Yes, I know that. But I could come in and say, hey, if you give me some slack on that slope over there, I'm gonna put a public pool in. I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, I don't think we're saying allow people to take out steep slopes, but in the Wildwood case, they were allowed to not have to do their site plan in the same fashion that everybody else does in order to be able to do their site plan and go around the trees and create that landscape that they did. And it creates a different picture. But they wouldn't have been able to do it that way in the traditional sense. But I don't think that they went too far to negatively impact the environment. They were able to do it in a way where they actually enhanced the environment.
Whereas if you create a subdivision and then try to locate the houses on the lots, lots of times you run into unintended consequences like, okay, you left the steep slopes, now the person can't build a deck. So if you were able to locate the house and then build the lot lines, you have a little more flexibility.
But to get to that point, a whole lot of other criteria has to be met
Yes,
per the definition.
yes.
I mean, when they changed all that stuff for Armory Square, they went through a public process. The three commissioners had their minds made, and it didn't matter. When they changed those text amendments for Armory Square back in the beginning, it had to go through the whole public hearing
It did,
process.
yes.
But those three commissioners had already made, that decision was made, and it didn't matter.
But with the PUD, wouldn't we have more leverage and more flexibility?
No.
To, as far as
Getting involved.
tennis courts, swimming pools, where and when, and
So give me an example
libraries
of what
and-
you're talking about. So they're not gonna put them in, and you're gonna require them to put
No,
it
no,
in?
no, we could navigate that through and say, hey, the citizens at this town hall said they would like to see this. So let's navigate, go back to Armory Square, what's the, one big thing, well, we don't need another car wash. Well, we could have navigated with the current owners through that if it was a PUD instead of currently zoned.
So is that true? We could tell them, no, you can't put a car wash in, and we want something else?
You
If
can
it's-
ask for anything
if
you
it's in-
want,
if it's in the
but they will
PUD
come back and
and-
tell you, I don't have a tenant for that or tenant for this, but yeah, you can
So it'll be
ask.
voted down, and
A PUD is a zoning ordinance applicable to that piece of property or that collection of properties that it's applying. So you could change the use tables from where they are in today's zoning ordinance or the adopted zoning ordinance, not allow car wash.
And I know people say that, but I'm challenged to tell a business, you can't come here, because we think we have it too much.
I don't think it's
well,
not-
it's the developer and what the citizens have voiced their opinion on. So that if the citizens voicing their opinion on, they want to see this in Prince Frederick or Huntington or wherever, and we can navigate them tools with the developer and say, hey, this is what the citizen wants. Let's try to come up with a conclusion.
I think it's getting us involved in the planning process a lot earlier. Being able to communicate with the developer and say, these are community's needs, these are citizens' wants. We need to have a tool in place to be able to do that legally.
Well, there's an old expression, you don't break the law, you change the law. And this allows you to just change it at will. So.
Going through the process, going through, just like you did before.
But there's still a lot of checks and balances in place.
Which, if three commissioners have a goal, they're
They
gonna
can
get
do it.
there,
Right.
one way or the other.
Eventually, it just seems like you're putting your finger in the dam and leaks keep coming. I don't know how we're gonna keep this county from not turning into like the rest of the state and all its problems that it has. Because it just seems like it's this relentless push until everything is developed and there's nothing left. And I know I didn't run on that, and I know the people that I talk to don't want that. I don't know where this need is for this constant development. We still only have one road.
But Commissioner Hart, in the new zoning ordinance, we've reduced the density in all the town
Sure,
centers.
but
Down to the
the
point,
PUD will make that irrelevant.
but 3 new commissioners on the next board can make that
Then let
irrelevant.
them do it.
Well,
Well,
let-
I know you want direction, and let me just cut to the chase. My constituents don't want it. That's who put me in office, and I'm a no.
Same.
I vote, Mr. President, is yes, because it's a valuable tool.
I'm a yes.
I knew that already. So I've been struggling this for a while, as most of you can probably tell, and I'm going to have to be a no, because I am concerned that it does make it easier for 3 commissioners to make changes that, sorry, just, even though I know they can do it
They can.
without it.
They
I
can.
know they can do it without it.
They can. They changed impact fees, 3 of them at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. That's why I'm sitting here. And my boards would put you here. You sat out there hollering at me. And you were right. I was mad at you at the time because I didn't know what I know
Is
today.
this meeting being recorded, please?
I'm just saying. I know, but I'm just saying. You sat right there, and I can't remember verbatim what you said, and I didn't know you then. But we sat here till what, about 11 o'clock that night?
Yeah, I think we did.
Mhm.
11:30.
You were right, and I was wrong. And I've had to fall on that sword many times, and so.
And that's my issue. I can't get around. Sorry.
Okay, I think we hear you, and thank you, commissioners. That was a very interesting and healthy discussion. But we will move forward to the next topic, which is short-term rentals. So this was a use that was added to the May 2023 draft zoning ordinance. Many short-term rentals currently operate in the county. I think we've had discussions the last time we presented this, that if this were to be permitted in the updated 2024 draft, we would permit it anywhere that residential dwellings are permitted. It was primarily added to the May 2023 draft in large part so the county can collect taxes on short-term rentals. However, our understanding is that that may no longer be necessary. So some important considerations are that regulating short-term rentals will require staffing, tracking,
Well,
permitting.
before we get too far, go back to why it's not necessary now.
Because we are collecting the taxes.
So that was the only
Currently.
reason. Just wanted to be sure.
Initial conversations with the treasurer's office was that we would have to put something in the zoning ordinance for them to be able to collect, and then we found out that wasn't the case. The short-term rental companies were already collecting local taxes, and it was just up to us asking for that money, and we're now getting it.
And can you define a short-term rental for me?
Our definition in the ordinance, in the draft currently, is a residence or private dwelling that offers sleeping accommodations to the transient public for rent or for less than 30 days per client per stay.
And what I struggle with this, and I believe people have a right to do with their property if they want to do this, but I've received many phone calls that homeowners have said this has, in some instances, disrupted the quality of their lives. What do we have in place? Let's say you have a residential neighborhood, and some of our neighborhoods are small, maybe just a cul-de-sac or 2 blocks, and you've got working people in that neighborhood, and you've got somebody 2 doors down who's partying all night. What do we have in place that protects our homeowners from these disruptions?
Nothing in the zoning ordinance.
Nothing.
And that would be a call to the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my exact question, because, we didn't have any hotels or anything, and, once the new plant came in, got no place for these guys to stay, so it's kind of been this unwritten thing, people would rent out that basement during outages and everything, and I know these, B&Bs or whatever, there is a big thing now, but that's my exact question is, you get some, I guess, that don't even know they're there, and then some, like say, it's a wild party. I guess that, like you said, it's law enforcement, I
Yes.
guess.
So is this even needed in there if we're not monitoring, we're not collecting taxes?
So
Or
we are collecting taxes.
I'm sorry, we are.
Yes.
That's it, okay.
It's very difficult to regulate as far as a zoning perspective. I know we struggled with this for quite a while. I think we would be okay with continuing not to regulate it, that people can rent their own properties for a day, a week, a month, a year.
Do we require licenses for these properties, Mary Beth?
We don't. That's something we could do. A business license.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait a minute. He said 30 days. I just heard you say a year.
Today, that's our rule. We don't care how long you rent your property for a day, a week, a month, a year. If we put short-term rental definitions into our ordinance, it would be less than 30 days.
How many short-term rentals can I have on my property?
Today, we handle it as you have to rent your entire property out. It's not like you can, let me correct that, because we do have a house in Solomon's that has an accessory apartment, and they live in the accessory apartment and rent out their house, so, but they're only allowed one rental per property.
And I was gonna ask you about that, because I know that's on the books, but how do you regulate the other if there's 3 families renting it for a week? And it kinda crosses over each other or something, or?
Yeah, we're not regulating who is
And I don't wanna
occupying
get too deep
and
into
for
that,
how
I mean,
long, yeah.
that's a whole nother, but I remember hearing that you can't have 2 families renting one house, but then it goes back to definition of what's short-term, I guess.
Right. We don't allow that for long-term rentals. You can only rent your house to one.
Because sometimes that's what folks do, they go on vacation together.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
that happens
absolutely.
all the time.
And, yeah, with a code enforcement staff of 3, I don't know how we could
Yeah,
possibly
you have to
regulate
have
that.
20 guys.
Right.
So we really don't need to deal with short-term rentals for the reason you thought.
Right.
So we can take that off the list.
Yes.
Basically, the only thing we're collecting taxes on is like VRBO,
Airbnb, yes.
Airbnbs that we know about, but half the county could be renting one property on and we're not collecting any taxes on it, correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, so am I correct? It sounds like we have consensus on short-term rentals. Okay, next topic are electric vehicle charging stations. Provisions addressing electric vehicle charging stations have been revised in the May 2023 draft. In the draft zoning ordinance, these regulations have been revised so that for parking facilities that require 25 to 49 spaces, when electric vehicle charging stations are installed that serve a minimum of 2 parking spaces, the minimum required number of parking spaces may be reduced by 2. For parking facilities that require 50 or more spaces, electric vehicle charging stations that serve a minimum of 4 vehicles must be provided. If more than the required amount of electric vehicle charging stations are provided, then the minimum required number of parking spaces may be reduced by the amount of parking spaces that can be served by the additional charging stations not to exceed 10% of the minimum required number of parking spaces.
Does this reflect state law?
No, this is not coming from the state.
So my question is, why do you believe we need to mandate EVCs? Because the companies that put them in charge for them, so it's a commercial venture for them. As a business, if you if you're trying to attract customers, wouldn't you put those in because you want to serve that community?
Well, I don't necessarily know if it's a need. It really depends on what the Board of County Commissioners believe
I
is a
was
need.
asking you for your opinion.
Well, I can tell just anecdotally, I know people that have electric vehicles, and I've asked them, you know, how often are you charging your vehicle outside of your home? And the answer that I get is essentially the only time they ever do that is if they're driving long distances out of the state or Ocean City, something like that.
Right. So I could see where, like at Solomon's or the beach, people are coming, might need an opportunity, but I still feel like it's a commercial, and I don't know if we need to incentivize it or mandate it.
Let the developer.
Just leave it up to the individuals. I mean,
Isn't your tractor electric?
not yet, brother. I'll be done before that happens. But
I'm with you
that's
guys
just
on
my
that.
opinion.
I'm with you guys on that. I think
I
that's.
agree. And at the end, it talks about requirements to install EVCs, or should it be included only as an incentive? If we were to decide to install these, do we pay for it? Does the state pay for it?
So far, the ones we've done have been private businesses put them in because they charge and they make
Okay.
money off of it. So
Okay.
we haven't had to pay. The only thing they've done is asked us, could they? And we've
Okay.
allowed them to install them in certain locations, but no, we do not pay for that.
Okay, good. I
So
agree.
are you recommending that we keep it the way it
As
is in
is.
our current ordinance, which is
That's-
it's just an incentive?
That's my
Yes.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, at a previous work session, the BOCC expressed interest in potentially looking at reducing minimum parking space requirements. And we've like to present this option for consideration, that the zoning officer may reduce the minimum parking space requirements of the ordinance if the applicant demonstrates that the facility to be served would not require in its day-to-day operation a full complement of parking. The application would be accompanied by a parking needs study that includes an estimate of the parking needs for the use, a thorough explanation of the basis for the estimate, any data used in calculating the estimate, including parking generation studies and previous experience with similar uses, and an explanation for any other relevant considerations.
So I think we've all seen in some of our larger shopping centers, a lot of empty blacktop a lot of the time. I think that there's one fast food restaurant who I'm not gonna advertise for in Prince Rake probably needs more. And residentially, I think that we should require more. I mean, the last study I saw in Calvert County, we average almost 3 cars per household. And now that we're in the apartment and townhouses, I think we only require them to have 1. And we know every one of them has at least 2, so they take up the visitor parking and they take up the streets. So if part of this, I think we should look at residential and high density. It probably needs to be higher. Because even in they, I mean, they own 2 cars, then they have a work vehicle, some of them. I mean, if you ride through, my daughter lives in one of them. You ride through there, there's all these work vehicles, and every house has 2 cars. And we go there, there's nowhere to park. Because they've used it all. They're parking in the grassed areas because there's nowhere to park. So I think that's something that definitely needs to be considered. And this is just my personal opinion. And some of these big shopping centers might need a little less. People are buying online, and just not foot traffic like it
The
used to
restaurants
be.
are having a tougher time, but you're right, the brick and mortar, those having those football fields worth of parking now is, yeah, kinda a little overkill.
So this suggestion would give the zoning officer the opportunity to review a request. We could make it commercial institutional and then look at the residential, and propose some changes in the,
Because in these high density
Traffic.
areas,
Both, really.
you can't get a fire truck in there. I mean, there's just cars everywhere.
Yeah.
Trucks and.
This option is used by Anne Arundel County, and we thought it was a good alternative until the county can do a more comprehensive study to really take a look at parking standards across the county and how we're if we think we're too high or too low. But without having that data, we didn't feel like we could just go ahead and make reductions or
Right now.
increases without having some data. So we thought this was a good alternative to have in the meantime.
Yeah.
And I think another point is that if this policy were implemented, the results of working through this with developers might help inform decisions being made down the road, which I think may be more relevant when we get to the town center zoning ordinances. So another slide that we have here, an option for consideration is the plan for and budget contracted services for comprehensive wide parking study during the update to the town center zoning ordinances, which will provide the county with the data and the analysis required to make a recommendation on reducing or perhaps increasing, in the case of residential, minimum parking space requirements.
So is everything lumped under commercial? Is a restaurant commercial? Is a auto parts store commercial? Is a dry cleaners commercial?
No, they're separated out in the use tables, a little bit more so than that. We're just using that word to kind of, because most of them, even if it's a business or if it's an automotive business, it's still a commercial enterprise.
But some businesses you're gonna spend more time in than others. A restaurant, grocery store, you're gonna be there a little while in most cases. Dry cleaners or a auto parts store.
And our parking requirements are broken down differently.
Accordingly.
It's not all
Okay.
lumped in under one category.
Thank you.
Okay, the next topic is the location of the IMU district. So the IMU district was introduced in the May 2023 draft, and I believe primarily as a response to how development has been trending in the industrial park off of MD 231. But the district is also being proposed in a few other locations in the county. And before I get to those, I just wanted to read a brief summary of the purpose of the IMU that we have in the draft. The purpose of the industrial mixed-use district is to provide for a mix of light industrial uses and compatible commercial uses such as recreation, entertainment, and retail establishments, in part to promote the reuse of older industrial structures that may no longer be suitable for the original purposes. So a few more examples of uses that would be permitted in the IMU that are not permitted in the light industrial district currently or in the draft are things like eating establishments, medical offices, taverns, and bars. And some of the locations other than the industrial park off of MD 231 where the IMU district is being proposed is in the Patuxent Business Park north of Lusby Town Center, the area south of Lusby Town Center in the proximity of Mill Creek Middle School, north of Southern Connector Boulevard, and the undeveloped Howland Business Center near Owings, and the industrial park, the industrial center on off of Skinner's Turn Road. And we do have some maps here for those who like visuals.
But like on Skinner's Turn Road, I think wasn't there a Scorpion Brewery in there? And then off of 231, there's Mully's, and it worked real well. We didn't have any problems with the citizens disliking that in those locations.
I think that's one of the reasons why those locations were targeted.
Okay, yes.
So we're looking at Lusby here. You can see the IMU being represented in the light blue. So the Patuxent Business Park north of Lusby, you can see, and also the area south of Lusby north of Southern Connector Boulevard, also zoned IMU in the draft. And then here we have east of Owings, you can see the IMU area that's off of Boyd's Turn Road. That's the undeveloped Howland Business Park. And then there's the industrial center off of Skinner's Turn Road.
So what's the question here today?
So the question that we have is, do the commissioners agree that these locations are appropriate for the intentions and purpose of the IMU district?
But aren't they already in existence?
The IMU is a new district.
Oh, it's a new.
So all of our industrial zoning in the county today is I-1.
I-1.
It's all light industrial.
Okay.
So we're introducing the levels of industrial.
But they would stay relatively similar to that, right? I mean,
Right.
what you see, here in Prince Frederick or down in Lusby, that's what these would replicate, right? It would just be like an extension of the third industrial park or fourth industrial.
It's just providing more flexibility. So as Commissioner Grasso said, introducing other uses like a brewery, or I know the one up off of Skinner's Turn Road, I believe they have karate studios and things like that. So it's a more of a mix of uses in an industrial area instead of just being intentional for
I know
industrial.
we ran into a little bit when it came to the retail piece, and I'm not gonna get specific on the business.
Yes.
Cause the business had kinda, expanded into more of a retail line, and that was a little, it was still similar to what they were doing, but it made it gray. I don't know how you, cause some of those areas really aren't built, say, for a lot of traffic. It's more specific, so I don't know how you mitigate that.
That's what the IMU is for to introduce more retail outside of heavy industrial, traditional industrial parks.
And they would still have to meet the other conditions for those uses, like if they were permitted somewhere else, like parking. They would
Traffic
still have to
studies,
meet.
same as that, like today's new APFO would have to go through?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you something else. Is there rental within these industrial parks? Is it much more reasonable than, let's say, up at near where the Giant is in Dunkirk? Is it more affordable? Because I know at one point in one of these industrial centers, I went to a dance studio, and like you say, the karate place, there's 2 breweries, I know Scorpions has left. Is the rent much more reasonable for people within these industrial use centers?
It is, because it's outside the town centers, you're not getting the people driving by, seeing, so I do believe the rent is cheaper, yes.
A
That's
lot
a
of it's
good
for sale
benefit.
too, isn't it? Aren't they encouraged to buy those lots? Like Lusby they were.
Those are largely undeveloped, so yes, they're trying to sell the lots for development on them, yes.
So pre-COVID, there was a lot of interest in PBP, and I think Economic Development did some surveys of maybe the next PBP. Did you kind of, I don't think you did, look back at what they identified to see if it kind of matched up with what you're proposing, where this might go?
So the PBP also had an extra level of a covenant put on it at the state level. So, but we could certainly look at what was allowed in those covenants.
Because that was a Medco project. and
Right.
If we did another one, it might not be a Medco project, but I was just thinking it might be helpful if they had identified to see how it looks compared to what you're proposing.
Okay, we can check the uses to see that the IMU is compatible with what is being allowed in the Patuxent Business Park, sure.
How close are those IMU areas to being built out?
I think that the industrial park off of MD 231 is pretty close to being built out. Skinner's Turn Road, I imagine if it's not built out, it would be close. We just touched on the Patuxent Business Park, a lot of vacant lots still. And the Howland Business Park, I think one of the reasons why that was chosen as a potential IMU area is because it's been sitting undeveloped under the current zoning. And there might be other reasons for that, like environmental constraints and other challenges, but I think that was part of the logic in that decision.
One thing that I had heard from several citizens, and I know Director Cook, we had spoken about this, is there was a rumor that a gentleman's club was coming to the industrial park, a potential strip club. And is there any validity to that?
No. So what we were proposing was to,
I was optimistic.
in today's zoning
There's
ordinance,
so much on the table, I'm leaving right now.
we don't permit them anywhere. So we were proposing to allow them in industrial parks. We've heard citizens, we've listened to the public comment, we're taking it back out.
Thank you.
You're
That's good.
I don't
Good
believe-
choice.
Yeah, I don't believe we're
No,
Yes.
the area for that.
yeah.
Really?
Hey,
No, I don't. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good,
Yeah.
good move.
Next.
Are we ready to move on to the next topic?
I think so.
Okay. Next topic is agricultural processing. So I think we've had some questions relating to people that are interested in this sort of use. But just, we'll start off with a definition here. It's a facility used for the handling, unloading, storing, shucking, freezing, preparing, changing into different market forms, manufacturing, preserving, packing, or labeling of agricultural commodities or fish, shellfish, or related products. So our question is, should on-farm processing of poultry be conditionally permitted in any district, as long as the farm has all required state licenses and approvals? And a follow-up question, should on-farm processing of seafood and/or other agricultural commodities also be permitted? And currently, agricultural seafood livestock processing is permitted only in the I-1 light industrial, rural commercial, marine commercial, and farm and forest districts.
Why isn't it permitted? I mean, I don't know a lot about that industry, but I've heard where people have had to take their stuff, I mean, miles from here to, like, you know, their cows or whatever to do, I mean, is
That's
there
because
a
they
na-
have to have a USDA certification. This is more for small scale.
so
livestock.
is there a reason why we wouldn't allow it, though?
Well, are we separating commercial and private industry, or, you know, private resident? Are we separating those in this, or is it all blanketed under one?
It's all blanketed under one, and we have had a lot of inquiries about being allowed to process poultry on a small farm or an RCD property that's 10 acres. So
So is that
that's
the
really the
minimum?
interest here.
Is it the 10-acre minimum?
There isn't currently, but we could put a minimum on it.
I think that concern is that sometimes in processing, depending on your scale, it can be issues.
A nuisance? Yes.
Issues.
Yes.
And look, if somebody's living in a neighborhood and they want to kill a chicken for dinner, I don't have any issues with that. But when you start killing
Hundreds of chickens a week or
hundreds of
something.
chickens, your neighbors aren't going to be
And
very
neighborhoods.
happy. And so,
We're not
I
going to
think-
be happy, and how do we protect the consumers?
so if they're going to sell them, there are requirements, federal regulations that they have to meet. But for personal consumption, or if I'm not selling it, I could
Could give it away, probably.
I could process some chickens and give them to all of you, and then I don't have to meet those federal regulations. But as soon as I try to sell it, then I have to meet those regulations.
Health department kicks in at that point.
Yes,
But,
yes.
I mean, if there's an acreage requirement, does that alleviate, I mean, I don't know what one of these facilities looks like, I mean,
It doesn't have to be much. I mean, you know, Worcester shucking, you just could do it in your garage or.
Well,
cooking for
and the
animals.
only thing in here that talks about conditionally permitted in any district as long as they have the required state licenses approval. So, I mean, I guess this is really differentiating commercial from residential to a point, but still we're gonna have residential issues with people wanting to kill their own poultry or whatever that we might get complaints on, and I guess we need some teeth to be able to enforce that, one way or the other, or not enforce it.
And just FYI, there are some existing conditions on the use. For example, the use shall be at least 200 feet from any lot or parcel with a residential building or active residential building permit, and all buildings and outdoor facilities associated with the use shall be located a minimum of 100 feet from all parcel lines. So those are the current conditions that we have in the draft.
but if you had like 50 acres or so, and I can even think of a business here, of course, it's a very old business that, it's right in the middle of a bunch of houses, and they've been I'll leave that type of industry, they've done that kind of stuff for years. But if you're 50 acres and you say, hey, I do chickens, and you want to build a facility and have the health department specs and everything like that, I mean, is that a,
It's more about the small acreages where.
but do we allow that today?
Yes.
So if I had a 50-acre farm, I could process
Yes,
chickens
if
and all
you're
that?
in the FFD, the MC,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Okay,
But what we're looking at is other zoning
like the guy in the
districts.
cul-de-sac.
Right.
Yeah, that's sticky.
Well, but he's not in an right? He's an RCD.
RCD was the
So-
particular case
Would
we
he be
had.
an RC? Could he be an RC?
RC is rural, commercial, and we're not creating any more RC properties, so.
So you're asking if we want to open it up to other categories?
Yes.
Other districts.
Other districts?
with the condition that it's on-farm.
Define your farm.
Agricultural use assessment or an APD.
What's that doing for a person who lives on Plum Point Road and has an acre and has chickens in a house and they wanna kill their chickens?
If they're gonna consume them for their own, I don't think they're affected, are they?
I think I may have not heard all of that, but were you talking about just the slaughter of?
So, yeah, a person at their residential,
No, I don't think that would fit the definition of what we're
so
talking
they're
about.
not,
This is-
so
this
they're
is
not-
going
so they're-
beyond
So
that,
they're
right,
immune
yeah.
from the whole thing.
Right. It's only for commercial resale.
If you live down the street and you decide you're gonna start a business and you're not zoned for it, and you're asking, do we wanna open it up to other districts?
Well, I think specifically to open it up into districts where you can get a farm use assessment, agricultural use assessment, to be able to do the processing.
And that's based on
Because
dollar.
we do have a lot of farms located in the RCD, the Rural Community District, and the Residential District, so this doesn't apply to them. So those are the main people that we're thinking about in this case.
That's probably okay. The RC.
Okay, I'm seeing some
I'm okay.
heads nod.
Nuts.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we're good.
So we have
Okay.
another public hearing, we'll see what they think.
Well, if we get an outcry, we'd have to.
Don't wake up the chicken people.
Okay, at another previous work session, we heard some interest in perhaps increasing the threshold for when a building permit is required for an accessory structure. Right now, it's 150 square feet. I believe the maximum that we can increase it to is 200 square feet. And just for your information, if you look at the surrounding counties, the range for which their threshold is located, it's either 150 or 200 for the most part. There's a couple that are outliers there, and outliers in the, not the increased direction, and it's less than it is
Less.
here. But 150 or 200 looks like it's the standard. So the question is, well, before we get to that question, you should know that if the threshold is changed, it would require an amendment to the building code as well. So with all of that in consideration, are the commissioners interested in increasing that threshold from 150 square feet to 200?
I've wanted to see this for a while. You know I have. Check my math. A 15 by 15 shed is how many square feet?
225?
So it wouldn't qualify.
No.
It would not.
That blows me away.
Dog pen.
I'd go to the shed, right.
I always use dog pen as an example. I gotta get a blueprint, put up a dog
Yeah,
pen.
I mean, I got a 50-acre farm. 15 by 15 is nothing to me. That does me no good at all. Even a half-acre lot of 15, I mean, why do we care?
The building code
Okay,
is
but
the state, the code that the state has adopted states 200 square feet. We have adopted our local code to be more restrictive at 150 square feet.
But
I'm
200
not
's
sure we
nothing.
could exceed, could we exceed the 200? No, we can't be less restrictive.
Maryland won't let you go more than 200
No, that's the max we could go.
without a permit.
We're increasing 50 square feet so that you could build a shed up to 200 square feet without a permit.
But 201,
You cannot.
that is crazy. For years, I've never understood this. It's the dumbest thing in the world. You're putting your lawnmower in it and the kids' toys.
So what's the concern? Have you ever heard that? I mean, what's the issue of?
I don't think we'll ever be able to set a number that someone's not
No,
gonna want to
exactly.
exceed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if,
we have no concern of increasing it to 200.
if the max is 200, and I'm all about that, but I kid you not, I wish it was 400 or 500. I kid you not. I think that's silly.
2,000.
Yeah, who cares? You're just storing stuff in it.
I'm for the 200 increase.
That's fine.
Good.
They still gotta meet the building restriction
Oh,
line.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Gotta stay within property lines and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, next topic, electronic message centers. So currently, electronic message centers are permitted in Prince Frederick Town Center and the Employment Center District only on sites having frontage along Route 24, Dares Beach Road West, or Route 231 west of Route 24. So the question is, should the area where EMCs are permitted be expanded? Should EMCs be expanded within the Prince Frederick Town Center and permitting them adjacent to other roads? Should they be allowed in other town centers?
That was a fight.
Should they be allowed in places outside of town centers? We have had requests from churches, for example.
I'm a hard
So,
no.
what'd you say about churches? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
We've had some requests from churches outside of town centers for electronic message centers.
Okay.
And do they have what do they have currently now, Will?
Most of them have reader boards. We have to manually change out the readers.
And which technology has changed from manually to remotely and upgrade, yes, okay.
So you've only received requests from churches on the outside of that?
The majority of the requests that we have received have been from churches. Maybe stray daycare or something similar in nature, but
Okay.
I wasn't sitting here at the time, but I remember that fight.
Oh, it was nasty. And I have a couple ways looking at it. I understand the business application of it too, but it can turn into Vegas. Call me an old fuddy-duddy. It can turn, and hey, every jurisdiction, there's 24 jurisdictions, and it's, it is legitimately a driving distraction when you're driving and the thing flashes and stuff like that. I mean, I know they're out there, we drive, but yeah, I'm not ready to get into that fight.
You were sitting here then, right?
I was, and that was, and John, you remember, that was right, we were trying to do the sign ordinance, and that was like when the Supreme Court kicked in and kind of delayed everything, and, but we were in the middle of that. That was a real heated battle, and, it was a hard no from a lot of folks. So yeah, I'm not climbing that tree.
I'm fine with not doing it because of the public safety issue with people driving and another distraction. That's all we need. Enough accidents as it is.
thank you.
I'm good.
Okay, last topic before we get into the capacity analysis, grandfathered development plans. So the question is, at what stage can a project be grandfathered under the regulations of the previous zoning ordinance? And our options that we have to consider here are site plans would be grandfathered after conceptual approval, subdivisions grandfathered after preliminary approval, and the main point here is that we would want to see at least one approval to ensure that the proposal is serious, and we don't want a flood of half-baked proposals, essentially, in an attempt to get their foot in the door. So that is the question.
Is there existing county policy on the books for grandfathering?
We typically do something similar to this, and it's usually written into the adopting resolution.
But it's on our books, it's in black and white, and we follow that.
Go ahead. It's not in the zoning ordinance, it's in the ordinance that adopts it. We
like
have a
the policy guidelines.
legal ordinance that gets attached, that gets recorded in land records, and in there, we specifically say, you are grandfathered under these criteria. And yes, these are the criteria we've used in the past.
And how far back does our grandfathering go?
Well, we didn't have zoning until 73 or something like that.
Right.
67?
67, yes.
67.
But whenever we've gone to do amendments or adopted new zoning regulations, we've always entertained a grandfathering if for the in-between, the transition period from one ordinance to the next.
And when you consider grandfathering, what is your criteria?
So if you have submitted a site plan and have gone to the planning commission for conceptual approval, you've made a significant financial, you've put a lot into an engineer to prepare the plans, and it's always been felt that if you have put forth the money and the time, that you could be grandfathered. And so that this conceptual approval doesn't last forever. It's good for a year, and then you can get a one-year extension. So you still have to finish your design and get your final approvals. You're not grandfathered forever. There is a specific
You have
period
to
of
meet
time.
certain deadlines.
Right.
Okay, so just for everybody who's listening, would you list the process? How it starts, what you have to start, and how we go up the chain?
Sure. So we'll take a site plan. That's usually a commercial, industrial, institutional use. They submit, well, first you get an idea and you go to an engineer and you hire them to design your plans to submit to the county for consideration. It goes through our development review process where up to 15 agencies are looking at it for their criteria, their regulations. Once that plan gets to a point, comments go back and forth. Counties and agencies give comments, the engineer addresses them, then it goes to the planning commission for conceptual approval. If they receive that conceptual approval, there's typically still comments that need to be addressed, but they're not serious enough that it's going to alter the plan itself, because if it does, it has to go back to the planning commission. So with that conceptual approval, that just gives you the go-ahead to design your final plan. And then that's a whole nother process, back and forth with comments through our development review process until you have final stamps from all the agencies on it. Then you submit for a building permit. So, at any step along the way, your concept plan could expire, your final site plan could expire, your permit could expire. I mean, there's a lot, I just want to stress that your grandfathering isn't perpetual. It's got a defined
But they
time
never
limit.
miss a deadline. Once they get a project moving, they're not gonna miss a deadline.
If they miss a deadline, do we ever make exceptions?
We do not. The
You don't?
criteria is very specific in the ordinance.
And I'm thinking specifically about Lesby Villas.
Yes.
That goes back 20 years. Calvert County is different now than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Do we have anything in place to require them to do, like, let's say, a traffic study? That was one of the big concerns, was a traffic study. And also environmentally, does anything have to be redone? I mean, this site plan is your ticket to build 20 years later?
So the site plan didn't come into the planning commission until 2020, 2021.
Okay.
So the idea and the memorandum of understanding happened back in 2005.
Okay.
But the plan itself has been active within the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay,
Yes.
so it hasn't been as long as,
No.
okay. It was the MOU and that the whole big plan for that area where the Giant is and the Lidos and all of that, the apartments were part of that concept.
It was, yes.
Okay.
So are we comfortable with what's being proposed here? Sounds like yes. Okay, up next, we have a few slides
Can
on
I
the
just
capacity
ask you
analysis.
another thing?
Sure.
I just want to get this straight in my head. Okay. Do you feel okay, so the site plan grandfathered after conceptual approval. Do you see much of this where people have to be grandfathered? Because this is reasonably new on our books, the site plans.
So I think it is didn't used to take concept site plans to the planning commission, and after working with the development community, they felt like waiting till the bitter end, like you may have been working on a plan for 3 years, and then going to the planning commission didn't make sense, because you've already spent all this time and money to go to the planning commission, and they could deny it. They wanted to have some surety early on in the process, and that's when we did it at the concept. But they're still doing full-blown design, doing their traffic studies, doing, everything that's required for a plan early on.
To approve this, site plans grandfathered after conceptual approval, are we setting ourselves up that people will hold on to this for years and years and years?
No.
There's a
That's
timeline.
not the norm because of the big financial investment that they're making as they move through the process.
And the deadlines on our books for them to get through
Okay.
that
Because
process.
once they get conceptual approval, they've got 12 months to meet the next step.
Okay.
Or they can get a 12-month extension, but they can't get more than one extension.
One extension, either
Okay.
on the concept or the
Right.
final.
And
Thank
they
you.
say, some of them say, it costs $1 million to get to conceptual approval.
Okay. Just wanted to get that clear in my head. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jason Brinkley, Deputy Director of Planning. I wanted to take just a few minutes to go through a kind of an update or a recap on the capacity analysis that was discussed at the joint work session of the BOCC and the Planning Commission in May. If you recall from that meeting, and you'll see on the next few slides, the primary difference between the current zoning and the proposed zoning is changes in the RD, or residential district. We did offer some alternatives to what is in the current draft for the BOCC and the Planning Commission to look at, but we were asked to kind of take a deeper dive into that and look at a real-world scenario of what that capacity analysis would show, as opposed to kind of a high-level, never accomplishable number, and to take a look at the town centers. And so the next couple of slides are doing that. But before we go there, I just want to point out that, and I know that you all are aware of this, but just for the public, the numbers that are on the next two slides are not numbers that we're advocating. They're not these are estimates on a future that may never be. Our crystal ball doesn't work any better than yours does. We don't know exactly what will happen or what won't happen. This is merely guidance to help you as you make your decisions for the upcoming zoning ordinances. So these are not numbers that anybody is advocating to happen. This is just a possibility of what potentially could be out there based on a few different scenarios, and many of which are variable and can easily change. And so if you look at the top set of numbers there under previous analysis, and this is a truncated version of what you saw back in May, just focusing mainly on the RD. So that previous analysis, what we did was we came in and did a sampling of properties, and it seemed easier than what it ended up being, because there's a lot of going back to SDAT and pulling data. We came up with a lot of errors. Staff did an excellent job in preparing the previous analysis, but when we started doing a deep dive into individual properties, not to throw SDAT under the bus, but we weren't very confident. And there was a lot of inconsistencies, and I'll just leave it at that, which made this a bit challenging. We had to re-roll that a few times to get something that may be workable. So there is a lot of error and a lot of range that could be built into what I have there as the revised analysis. And once again, we're mainly focusing on the RD. And as you will see, looking across those lines, just reminding you that option one is, the draft is 4 dwelling units per acre in the RD. Option one would be 2 dwelling units per acre in the RD. And then option 2 would be 1 dwelling unit. And it's not a straight cut in half, because within that number, within that RD number, there's approximately 2,500 what I would say is buildable lots now. They're in existing subdivisions or whatever that people could pull a building permit on any day and in theory build it. Now, there's probably reasons why they haven't done that. We didn't go parcel by parcel and see, but in theory, they could do that. So that number is kind of built into why it's not a clear-cut 50-50 the way you would think it would be looking just across those RD numbers. And I also included on there an estimate of our base density, current and draft. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two, but it appears that the draft may have a slightly higher base density just because of some areas of expansion in the RD itself. But kind of overlapping all of this is something I wanted to talk about, because on the next slide, and I'm not going to go to it yet because I wanted to kind of walk through this just a little bit, but is really the use of TDRs is going to be the biggest factor in all of this. Because if you start with your base zoning, you have to utilize TDRs to get up to one of those, to get up to the max permissible density in one of those categories. And there's probably not enough TDRs to do what's on this slide, or there's not enough TDRs to do what's on this slide and what's on the next slide. So it's more of a zero-sum game is what I'm saying. So the higher you get on the next slide, and I wish I could put them all together on one slide, but I didn't want to complicate the numbers even more than they are, the lower this number would be, and vice versa. So the higher it would be here, the lower it would be there. And I think that's just good information to have whenever you're contemplating whether to focus that density on the town centers or to look at it in the outside of the town center area. So I know that's a lot of information, but I wanted to put that out there. If y'all have any questions, feel free to go back and forth between each. Now, this is the town center remaining capacity. This was not presented in May. And what we came in and did was kind of a 3-level analysis on it. If you look at the low end, that low end is just looking at undeveloped properties. And if those developed properties became developed to their fullest capacity. The middle number is if everything that is currently developed was redeveloped, that's significant redevelopment, to its full capacity. And then the high-end number, which quite frankly is your unattainable number, similar to what the original analysis on the other slide was, is if everything had water and sewer, everything in every town center, and I know this isn't necessarily planned, but I just wanted to put this number out there so that everybody could see what it would be, and everything was fully developed. You're talking a lot of mixed use because you're talking redevelopment of your commercial buildings and stuff to allow for it to its absolute max capacity. So in reality, my personal opinion is you're probably looking at somewhere on the low to middle end as what would be in the future, not putting a timeline on it, generations to come, maybe even potentially developed. And you'll have some redevelopment, developing what is now undeveloped, but you're probably not going to have every piece of property maxed out completely. It's just, it's not necessarily feasible.
So Jason, let me ask you, so, but this is based on a lot of this with water and sewer requirements.
Yes.
What is to prohibit, and maybe it's on the books, that's why I'm asking, a contractor from coming in and saying, well, I'll put my own system in? Does the code allow for that? And now all of a sudden with the way you have it, because that puts Dunkirk at risk, Huntingtown, any of these other areas that don't have water sewer.
And that's why I wanted to provide those numbers, because if somebody did a package facility, some kind of private facility, you could obtain those numbers. And that's why I wanted to put that on that
Because the shopping
slide.
center up there in Dunkirk is on that private system, correct? And
Yes.
it has lots of problems and
And so your low and middle would be on that tier 1, tier 2 area that would potentially, maybe even one day, potentially be able to be sewer. Your high end is once again, maybe not obtainable numbers. But what you're referring to would be obtainable probably in that middle area. And that's why I wanted to
hate being
provide
Mr.
those numbers.
Gloom and Doom. I just don't see I don't meet the people that want that. And I'm not saying they're not out there, and that's, because we're into the zoning now and into the teeth of this stuff. I mean, I just don't know how we have the topography for all this high density. We've still got one road.
And so to drill down just a little bit more on your question, the use of TDRs will probably restrict that more so than.
No, they'll write the check, because people, I've seen some properties that I thought would never sell. I'm like, no, but they're not Calvert County people. They're coming from all over. So if you're living in Northern Virginia, stroking $1.5 million is nothing on a place. So I don't think that protects us anymore. And, now with COVID and people can work anywhere, we're not protected from, I'm not gonna, drive to work all the time because I don't have to. And I'm used to paying that for my townhome in Arlington or Fairfax or what have you. I'm telling you, I'm screaming it from the top of the mountains. This board has a great responsibility right now because, going back to the mistakes I made in the past, all these things are viable. And the technology's getting more and more out there to where, why wouldn't I take you? If you guys remember, I was worried about when we had, what's the new park up your way? Ward Farm. Could somebody potentially take the existing Dunkirk Park and go, well, hey, this is prime thing. I think we gotta really be eyes wide open. What do we want this county to look like? Because, you're gonna turn around and say, how did this happen?
And in case somebody missed the footnote, these numbers are based on the reduction in density that we're putting in the zoning ordinance.
Thank you, Commissioner. I was going to point that out,
Just to make sure nobody missed that.
that the footnote there does say that it's based off the max density on this page would be the 7 dwelling units per acre. Now, there's some areas, Dunkirk being one of them, where you don't hit that. So I think it's 4. I don't have the slide pulled up right now, but it's 4 dwelling units per acre is the max inside of Dunkirk.
Okay.
So that would be, that's not going to 7 unless a decision is made otherwise. But that's where
Shouldn't
it
all
does
go to
reflect.
4?
So I'm sorry, that did remind me. We changed town center designations. We used to have small, medium, and large or something like that. Now
Correct.
they're all town centers.
Yes.
We're not considering going back to different classifications.
We could, on a case-by-case basis, when we are looking at the master plans, and then go back and change the comprehensive plan. We could do that.
That might have been one of Commissioner Hart's mistakes too.
Well, and.
Because Huntingtown, we all talk about Huntingtown,
Sure.
and nobody, and Owings.
Well, and remember how it was sold, because how it was sold was, no zoning's done in this. It's just designation.
I don't open up a new can of worms. I just want to be clear
Right,
in my
and
head.
that's where I'm going. This is the day that I was never a part of. This, we're now addressing this. How many years has this been on the books? Forever? And now we're finally to the day. Remember Commissioner Hutchins thought we were gonna race through and get to all these, and we never did. And that's what I'm saying. Is 7 too much?
Yeah, 'cause we went from
If 4 is good in
14 to
Dunkirk,
7.
But it's
Yeah.
still 4 in Dunkirk.
Correct.
Still
7
4 in
is the
Huntingtown.
maximum. Any place it was less than that stayed.
4 still in Huntingtown.
So 4 is Dunkirk. Huntingtown, it's 1 dwelling unit per 15,000 square foot, so approximately 4, that gets you pretty close to there.
Yeah, 3.
And then there's no maximum currently based off of this chart in Owings. And then.
And I thought that was the benefit of having the different classifications. Then you could set your densities and make sure that they kind of stuck.
but the water and sewer piece made you all of a sudden a town center. Right? When it was, or what was it?
There was major and minor
Major,
towns,
that's it,
yes.
that's what it was, major,
Majors
so
had
the
water and sewer.
because people say Solomon's was so small, how could it be? But because of the water and sewer component, and that's what worries me, and, and I know 3 rule the day, but to put these steps in place to where, there's gotta be a reason, when they go to that public hearing and whatever that board at the time says, well, we're gonna do this, they're gonna have to explain to folks why we're gonna increase this density.
So I am surprised that there's double the amount still left, looking at the high end, between Solomons and Lusby. Because Solomons, how far north does Solomons go? Up to Dow Road?
Because there's not sewer in Drum Point or Ranch Club or anything like that.
Okay.
And once again, that would be, the high end is if everything was basically.
It's almost a curse, as efficient as it is to help waterways and everything, it's almost a curse because
then you
it can
open
be
up.
exploited.
Yeah, that is the trouble. Those undevelopable lots soon quickly become developable.
There's people chopping at the bit waiting for Cove Point to go that way because they'll buy all those lots down there.
Anyway, I'm option 2.
Is there a taste on the board to reduce from 7 dwelling units to 4 within town centers?
It is for me.
So 7, what do you get with 7? You know what I'm asking? Apartments don't become apartments aren't economical at 7, right?
So probably townhouses.
So then townhouses is the highest.
But
Unless
10
it-
acres gets you 100 units.
In mixed use, what does that mean in a mixed use scenario?
Mixed use, you're gonna have a commercial component and potentially apartments above, so maybe that would be because you.
That would be where you would
Yes.
probably bid.
Yes.
Is 4 not enough? I think that's where I'm trying to go.
We could do some analysis.
But, if we went with 4, what's the negative to that? I know what the positive is, but what's the negative? Does it end up messing up mixed use, which the,
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah.
Is that gonna squash mixed use? I don't wanna do that.
because that's what's required in town centers now.
Yeah.
We could do some analysis
Yep.
of some existing developments and figure
This
out
would be the time to do it.
what it would take. Sure, sure.
We're finally at this bridge.
And then bring that back to you. I think we reserved another date at the end of August with anything that was left hanging, so we could bring that back for you for consideration.
So what percentage of growth are we at annually with what's in the pipeline?
0.5%.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
The last 10 years, we averaged 0.45,
Yes.
0.46, something like that. Less than that.
Right.
So that's enough.
And when we had our bond rating hearings, we heard from them as far as growth and that 0.5%, what was their percent?
They wanted at least 1%.
So if we do have growth, we want to keep our growth in our town centers. So if we cut that down to 4%, what would that do per our percentage of growth? I'm sure it would kill it even more.
It would.
Most likely, yes. Because that would have been based on 14 units per acre in at least Prince Frederick, right now, today.
Something to think about.
The thing with the bond rating, we finally got the AAA rating when taxes got raised. I mean, just call it what it is. We were riding that 2 forever, and that third one pushed them over the cliff when the taxes were raised, because they wanted to see that you would have the stomach to raise taxes. Because at the end of the day, I mean, guys have sat there, it's all about, what do you got in fund balance? What's your debts look like? What's your income coming in? I mean, it's just like applying for a loan. And that's why they perceive growth as more income. That's the perception coming out of there. You remember the one, they were big on, remember she was from Atlantic City, and when COVID hit, she was like, well, you lost all that tourism. I'm like, we don't have that type of tourism. So, it's really gets diving down why we have the nuke facility and the LNG facility, because those components have facilitated that influx of income. We could put 9,000 Walmarts here and we wouldn't move the needle. I mean, that's always the big misconception, it's those big energy facilities is what's kept us financially viable to those things. But they wanted to see that ability, and so they don't all of a sudden look on the cost on the other side.
So the only thing that saves us is we do have a lot of high-end homes that do pay their way. And till currently, we haven't had a lot of apartments or townhouses, which kills you on the other end. But, and retail, they all talk about all this money we're losing in retail going outside the county. We don't get sales tax. And the last time I looked at Walmart, I think we get less than $100,000 out of them in property tax. That's all we get. And
Commissioner Nutter told me that one.
I don't know how many millions of dollars Walmart generates every year, and we get $100,000.
Commissioner Nutter told me that campaigning my first time, and that was a big push, we gotta have all this, they're traveling everywhere. So I went to Terry Shannon, and Terry broke down just what you said, and I was shocked at how little really comes back to the county for that enormous footprint
But
that
we're
goes in.
gonna get $400,000 out of the new shop center?
350 to 4.
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
deputies, not even 3 deputies.
No,
And look at the headaches we're gonna get.
and what will you put there at Christmas time?
But the bond raters say we have to have growth. We just need more nuclear reactors is the growth we need.
That third reactor would have been pretty good years ago.
I asked them last week where 3 and 4 is gonna go.
And Commissioners, the other, I believe we would like to have some direction on would be what the consensus is on either option 1 or option 2 as far as density in the RD.
I'm 2.
I'm
Sorry.
I'm the least, but I would like to see your analysis on what.
So we'll bring that back for the town center.
Yeah, oh, well, I'm sorry, right,
Yeah,
right,
this,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 is, for Printronics, 7 should be good. I don't know. If you want to run some numbers.
We can do that.
That would be great.
I'll turn it back over to Will if y'all are done with me.
We're done with you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank
Go
you,
get an answer,
Jason.
Jason.
It's gonna go along.
All right, thank you, Jason. Last slide, this is just our proposed timeline for how we see the rest of this process potentially playing out. And so, like was just mentioned a minute ago, August 20th, we have reserved another meeting in case there's any follow-up questions that we want to present to the commissioners. We're hopeful that we can have a draft, an updated 2024 draft prepared by the end of August. And a public comment period would begin at that time. September 27th would be when public comments would be due. In October, we have October 8th and October 16th. We can review the second draft and comments received with the commissioners and the planning commission. And I think we've had some discussions about maybe turning over the updated draft to the county attorney's office a little bit earlier than that October 7th date to give them more time to review. But November 20th is what we have set for a public hearing with the Planning Commission, and then December 10th, a public hearing with the BOCC.
I think we don't want to push past December 10th. Need to get this wrapped up.
That's our goal.
It's our goal too.
Any other questions for us? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Public comment?
No presentation.
Presentation, that's right, the audit. I can't find my, there it is.
Presentation, the audit FY '23.
So the next item on the agenda is presentation by Department of Finance and Budget on the 23 audit. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I'm going to introduce and then turn over the meeting. Chris will be presenting the information from SPC Business Advisors. They are the county's independent external auditors. As you know, we just had concluded the fiscal year '23 audit, now moving on to '24, and the presentation is on the '23 final numbers. And before I let Chris talk, I also want to recognize Elizabeth's hard efforts and work during this process. We could not have gotten it done without her help.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Lehman. I was the engagement partner for the audit services again for the most recent fiscal year that's been completed. I'll have a presentation that I'm going to walk through. If you have questions, just feel free to jump in, and I can address those. Let's make sure this works. Okay, good. So as far as the scope of services, we were engaged to audit the June 30, 2023 financial statements, or what's termed the ACFR, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the county. In addition, we performed what's termed a single audit. That's a federally mandated audit for entities that expend more than $750,000 per year of federal funds. It's a compliance audit, in other words, of your federal funding. There's also some additional reports we issue surrounding the Marine Museum. There's a separately issued set of financial statements for the Marine Museum, as well as the federal Form 990. We also complete an audit of the Soil Conservation District, a schedule of the cash receipts and expenses related to that district, audit of the 911 activities. We also will review the uniform financial report, and we prepare the data collection form. And the data collection form is required to be submitted to the federal government upon completion of the single audit, and that has been done. At a high level here, and I've got, of course, additional slides, we'll go through the results, but we've issued a clean or unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That would be the best opinion we could give under professional standards. And that says that the financial statements are reasonably free of material misstatement. There was a delay in receiving data for us to complete the audit for 2023, so we do have a material weakness over the internal control over financial reporting process due to that delay in getting information. We had no single audit findings, so for the federal compliance audit, there was no findings. From a compliance perspective, what we're looking for from a compliance perspective is making sure the funds were used for the proper purposes. In a nutshell, it's basically making sure that funds weren't misused, in addition to some other, making sure reports are submitted on a timely basis and things of that nature. This picture here is just the phases of the audit, and we go through really 5 distinct phases. One's the planning process. Then we go through a process to test and understand the design of the controls, and I have a couple slides coming up that will show what those significant processes are that impact the financial statements from a controls perspective. They typically revolve around areas that have lots of transactional volume. If you think, payroll, paying vendors, billing, and cash receipts. If there weren't good controls, that would typically lead to, errors within the financial statement. So management having a good control process is, important in those areas. Then upon closing the books, management's process to close the books, we go through and assess the numbers, and we do some financial close and reporting analysis, and then we do substantive testing, which is more or less validating account balances, predominantly the balance sheet, substantiating cash, substantiating investments, testing fixed assets, things of that nature. And then we wrap up with our compliance procedures. And then in going through before we get to the specific control processes, we also look at the control environment that the entity, or the controls that are in place from an environment perspective. There's 5 interrelated components that we look at. We look at the control environment, management's risk assessment process, the control activities, the information and communication, and then the monitoring of those controls. Then taking that into a little more detail about the key functions or processes that are impacting the financial statements. There's Treasury, which that's your bank statements, that's your investment reconciliations, looking at certain estimates within the financial statements. For example, the useful life of a fixed asset, how many years that's being depreciated would be an example of an estimate. There's some significant estimates around the pension and OPEB accounting, and those are more disclosures than you probably want to read, in the financial statements, but there's lots of actuarial assumptions that impact pension and OPEB. Also look at the financial close and reporting process, looking at how management closes the books, and that's where we had the material weakness around the timing of the closing of the books to be ready for the audit. Looking at the expenditure process to make sure there's, approvals are happening, activities getting coded to the correct account in the correct period. Also doing this similar nature with payroll, and looking to make sure timesheets are approved, making sure employees are paid at the proper rates, and salaries are hitting the proper ledger accounts. Also doing something similar with revenue and cash receipts as it relates to impacting the financial statements. The fixed assets, information technology as it relates to the accounting system and how Workday is functioning. And then lastly, because we also are doing the federal single audit, we look at grant compliance, and there's a control aspect of that too, to make sure that even for grant dollars, there's proper design and operation of controls that impact the spending of those grant dollars. So one item we just talked with management about, probably not a shocker what our recommendation is with the delay in, you know, getting the audit and getting the information to complete the audit, but we would just recommend management to put in a process where they can closely monitor the deadlines, you know, coming up to be in a position where we can get information to complete the audit on a more timely basis. And in talking to management for the upcoming audit, it seems like there's some steps that have been taken that'll help mitigate the issues that we're run into for the 2023 audit.
So we fixed that.
Yes, sir. Beth Richmond, Senior Advisor. Yes, we had to respond to the material weakness in our single audit, and we'd already implemented with Bruce's arrival, we had implemented some changes to our month end and additional reconciliations that we're doing. And we will have, the next audit is on schedule, and we're getting reconciliations done. And so we've made significant progress in that area.
So I hear the next audit should be done by December for '24.
The goal right now is October 31st.
Good, it's even better.
So,
Yep,
I mean,
that's
that is the plan. It is dependent, I mean, so the Board of Ed's report does not come out till September 30th. We have Bolton reports that we rely on. So the goal is October 31st, but we do have outside parties that we need their information in order to put into the financials. So all those things have to align, but that is the goal, and that is the timeline we're working towards.
But you don't audit the Board of Ed.
We do, our firm actually does audit
Oh,
the
actually
Board of
you
Ed.
do?
So, yeah, that is, unfortunately, Board of Eds have a very aggressive deadline of September 30th. So they've got for a statutory deadline, they have to meet the state deadline of September 30th, so,
You do this one here.
yes.
Good.
That's curious. Okay.
Okay. So as far as the financial statements here, this is just very selective data. It's probably very small for you to read, but this is just the general fund budgetary numbers here. So and this is budgetary basis, there is a slight difference between budgetary accounting and the GAAP financial statements, primarily with how encumbrances work. Encumbrances get recognized earlier from a budgetary basis than from a GAAP basis. But all in, there is a positive change in fund balance of $18 million from a budgetary basis for the year. This is included on page 21 of the issued financial statements, in case you can't really read that too well on the screen. But other than that, many of these items I already hit on. If we had, really our only really difficulty, I would say, getting through the audit was just the timeliness. By the time we got information, it was good information. It wasn't like we were getting information and then it wasn't auditable or it wasn't ready.
It just took too long.
It took a lot. I don't want to speak for management's blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, but it was a lot of effort. Once it's good and it gets to us, our job's kind of easier once we know it's clean and we can get through it pretty efficiently. The hard part's getting ready for it, but we met weekly to go through and get an updated timeline, and we were able to get there. So really, that was, sometimes delays also mean, I've seen other problems where we get information of poor quality that you're just kind of getting it because the shot clock's running out, and it's like here, and then you get it and you're like, well, this wasn't good, but we didn't really run into that. That it was like we got something and then we had to make a judgment call on quality. It was, we had a couple proposed adjustments that really related to accruals, and we didn't find issues with, transactions not being recorded properly, or, just issues with the new system and data coming in from the old system. It was, I think management just getting their arms around how the reporting was coming out of the new system to then be able to produce the financial statements, that was just a very big learning curve.
Right, we changed our entire process.
Yeah, it was just a lot, there was a lot of moving parts, so. I've seen systems go from very well to even years later still not functioning as designed. I've even had one client end up giving up and switching back to the system they originally
We know that client.
gave up. So, but
That's
I
not
don't
gonna
think,
happen
you know,
either.
I can't speak for management, but I believe everything is going much smoother now and that there's no issues with the system. So, I mean, other than that, there's nothing of a negative nature I need to bring to your attention through the audit process, other than just, you know, the timeliness, which I'm sure you were privy to. But other than that, I've got my contact information here if there's any questions outside of audit season. But other than that, it's just, other than a little bit later than normal, it's, you know, we got through the deliverables.
Well, we're sorry it took so long, but
No, it's fine.
I think we've addressed that for the future.
Any other questions or comments?
I have none.
Have none. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
We'll see you in October.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. That's the goal. Now, I believe that brings us to public comment.
Yes, sir. The board adopted a resolution in 1989 intending to maintain the order and decorum of the governmental process. A copy is found here to my right. Persons are welcome to address the Board of County Commissioners on any matter germane to the business of the county government. Those addressing the board shall not be uncivil, rude, vulgar, profane, or otherwise disruptive to the conduct of the board's business. All speakers must identify themselves, and whether speaking as an individual, you'll be allocated 2 minutes, or as the appointed spokesperson of a group where you'll be allocated 5. Those attending virtually, please use the raise your hand function. Ethics Commission has asked us to remind speakers of public comment that lobbyists include those who seek to influence public policy, and lobbyists must register in advance. First speaker, please.
Myra Gowans, Calvert Citizens United, Huntingtown, Maryland. I want to talk to you gentlemen today, and
As
Catherine.
an individual or
Oh, no, Calvert Citizens United.
for the group? Okay, thank
right,
you.
yeah. I want to talk to you all today about something that is bothering me, and it's about legislative and legal oversight for the county that you all are using or perhaps not using, but maybe you don't even know what's going on. That's a possibility. First of all, let me just talk about, for a couple seconds, about Lusby Villas. Lusby Villas, I asked for a timeline from the county, from planning and zoning, and they got it for me. And then I noticed that I needed the memorandum of understanding, and took a little while to get that, but that's fine. I got the memorandum of understanding. Now, when you all talk about property and seizing control, you're talking about Article 66B and of the COMAR, of the law of Maryland. So what is happening here down there? And the citizens asked me to come down and speak with them the evening they had the forum down there. And Lusby Villas, if you look, and they were right to tell you that, you know, they've just started doing this in 2020. Okay, well, this is the timeline. The timeline is 2005 is when it started, all right? Now, how does that relate to 2020? Let me just assure you. You have Lusby Villas, initial submittal of site plan and concept, and then in bold letters, you've got under the old process, meaning 2005. Okay. The next thing that ends up happening, I look up the memorandum of understanding, and this is questionable. There's some questions here. First of all, You've got a document that's dated the 26th day of January, 2005. The Planning Commission signed this document. I don't even think they had legal authority to do that. It's usually the county attorneys that do this for a memorandum of understanding. But here's my issue. Everybody, okay, on the back page has signed 2005, all the Planning Commission members. Johnny Gott signs the document in 2004, January. What does that tell us? What does that say? That says that this document is altered, has been altered, or there's a missing document. Now, nobody in their right mind would do a document like this without notaries. There's no notaries on this, no notarizing of the signatures. You also have this document that everybody is relying on for the development of the property. And I told the citizens one day when I was speaking to a group, I said, you know, the Pentagon sits on 35 acres. You're disturbing 31 acres on this project. You have to be efficient about it. Now, let me just explain something. This document that was signed, that was agreed to, this document is the whole document that everybody's referring to, this memorandum of understanding, which is questionable because Johnny Gott's signature is at another time and place. Now, the other thing is that you have to worry about here is Johnny Gott is referred to owner, the owner, okay? Johnny Gott signs this not as the managing partner, managing member. What the heck is a managing member? That could be a secretary. That could be somebody that's on the incorporation, but he's not the owner. So what you have here is a document that is false. You have a false document here, and everybody's putting all their eggs into this basket. Now, the other thing is, in this document, it says time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. What does this mean in legal terms? It means it's critical. This is a critical issue. You must work to get this handled and done immediately. You must quickly and efficiently and with haste do this project, okay, in 2005. So let me just state this, and I'll finish. Let me just state this. If you don't do it in time is of the essence, you're in breach of your agreement. This is a problem. This is a problem, and it has to be addressed, and it has to be looked at.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to provide public comment?
Josh Johnson, concerned citizens of Calvert County. A couple of different things on the Lusby Villas to make you aware of. The original MO does not have the proper access. It literally says in there on that facility that it doesn't have proper access. The traffic study, as mentioned, doesn't abide by state and federal law. All this is normally done, by the way, before it even passes the first time around. The property deed is normally, per policy, under one deed. It's not. In fact, it's under three. So that leaves open the builder to be able to go in and build on the big property and then come back and two or 3 years later, then put in more high density on the other ones. So for some reason, when you're looking at the pagination of all this coming together, this was rushed through there. There's questionable things that are here with the access, and I was down at the town halls. I've been listening to people. I've had a lot of people come up to me, and they're concerned. They do not want this. I appreciate Commissioner Hart and Commissioner Grasso for being able to make it to those functions. When you have literally probably thousands of people now that are concerned about this, the commissioners did take a vote in fall of 2022 to assure the fact this wasn't happening. It's time for that policy to be put in place and put this to bed. This is questionable at best. We already have 1,000 more units. I do appreciate what Commissioner Ireland was saying about trying to be able to have some housing for those that might need it. Keep in mind, we already have 8,000 to 9,000 affordable housing units here, and we have another 1,000 that are already proposed. So another thing to keep in mind, there's different values for different people. Some people want to have paths and they want to walk on that. I think that would be great in some areas. But keep in mind, our values are not necessarily that way, and the values of the people that came out to all these town halls, that might not be their values. They appreciate what they have. They appreciate keeping this area rural. And that really needs to be the values of what we have, because that's what they're telling us, and that's the reason why they got us elected. So it's just important to know that. The second is we don't have, I'll just finish this if I may, we don't have the jobs to be able to support this low income. And that's the other challenge inside of this. So we also need to see that that's going to affect the taxpayers, because they're going to be the ones that are paying the taxes for individuals that don't. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room? Okay, online. Mr. Cormier, would you please identify yourself and whether speaking as an individual or the designated representative of a group?
All right, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joe Cormier, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Calvert CCAC, the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. I'd like to start by reminding families that they can still register for the Summer Grab-and-Go Meals Program for any child 2 years old and up. You have to register by close of business today for Wednesday's pickup tomorrow, and there'll be one more pickup on August 7th. Meal kits include weekly distribution of 5 breakfasts, lunch, and milk for each meal. If the household qualifies for free and reduced lunch, the meals are free, but if they don't qualify, they can pay out of pocket, and some funds are available. Please contact Calvert County Public Schools Nutrition Office, 443-550-8680. I want to remind everyone that tonight Calvert CCAC is meeting virtually at 6:30. The agenda and meeting login information are available under the Calvert County website. You can find CCAC under quick links. Tonight we'll be discussing the special education staffing plan, setting our 24-25 calendar of events, and identifying areas of interest. Please save the date for Friday, October 18th, and join us for a resource fair at the Harriet Elizabeth Brown Center, 10 a.m. to 2. Schools are closed that day for students, and we'll be partnering with the Sheriff's Office to conduct a What to Do in a Traffic Stop workshop. Teen drivers can experience getting pulled over in a safe and controlled environment. More details to follow. As we continue to evaluate the continuum of services available to students with special education needs, birth to 3 through infants and toddlers, 3 to 5 through Child Fine, and 5 through 21 through our school system, and post-secondary opportunities in college, careers, and the community, it's clear that more collaboration, communication, and resources are needed to meet students where they are, give them the skills to achieve they're capable of. The recent budget deficits for the school system are a huge concern for us, and as the cuts proposed, or for IEP facilitators, deans, coaches, sports, and building services staff that were first on the list to cut. While not all these administrators, educators, and support staff are considered special education staff, we know they make up the village that are services for our students. At the annual CCAC Awards, we've heard the impact that each and every one of these has on the success of students, and it's our hope over the next 9 months that the BOCC and CCPS can work collaboratively to build a robust system and fund it to provide a world-class education. Lastly, I was able to attend the Maryland Center for School Safety Summer Conference. I want to thank Sheriff Cox for sending so many SROs and staff to that conference. Keynotes on cyberbullying, social media, sextortion of children, workshops on video games evolving into gambling and the dangers of addiction, dealing with adverse childhood experiences and trauma-informed practices. But one of the main points I took back is you can have the best camera systems, artificial intelligence tracking, double your staffing, double your professional development. If you don't have a robust code of conduct for staff and students and enforce it with consistency and fidelity every day of the week, none of that's worth anything. Parents, we need your help. You wouldn't want your child to be using their phone while driving. Surely you don't want them using it while sitting in class. 100% no phones out of the backpack during the school day, from the time the bell rings in the morning to the time the bell leaves in the afternoon. It's going to take all of us working with our kids to help them break that habit of cell phone use in the classroom and get back to the job of the day, which is learning. Thank you so much. We look forward to a great school year, and have a great day.
Thank you.
That's the last speaker, Mr. President.
Thank you. That brings us to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have 2 families keeping your prayers. the Swallenberg family and the Scherzinger family who lost loved ones this week. Thank you.
Who's Wallenberg?
Vincent,
Hadn't heard that.
yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ireland?
So we had two good visits with the Secretary of Environment and the Comptroller. We did tours of the county, different facilities. It was nice hearing from them and them hearing our concerns. Both visits went very well. That's all I have.
They did. Thank you. Commissioner Hart?
Nothing today, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner Grasso?
To echo what Commissioner Ireland said, the visits that we had with the Secretary McElwain and Secretary Lederman were really, really productive. Great opportunity for us to voice our concerns, hear the direction they're going in, and I thought it was very productive. We also had a Planning Commission meeting on the 17th of July, and today is my eldest grandson, my firstborn's 21st birthday, Gavin Kinch.
Very cool.
So Gavin Kinch, happy birthday. We
birthday.
will have a beer on Sunday.
Hot dog. So as was mentioned, we did host the secretary and the comptroller here, and I guess we took the secretary to our landfill to show her, how we handle our trash. And she was shocked that we don't do trash pickup.
Oh, that was
She just could not get over the fact that we didn't pick up trash and that you, the citizens of Calvert County, haul your trash to the landfill in your own cars. She just was shocked. She also was a little surprised that we don't have our own landfill, that we haul our trash outside of the county. But she said, you all are brilliant that you don't pick up trash. But had a great tour with her, and the comptroller was down last week and gave her a tour of Calvert County, and hopefully they learned a little bit about us, and we certainly learned something about them, and built some connections and communication bridges, so hopefully will help us in the future. Also, this past weekend, I went to upstate New York to Watertown, which is right near Lake Ontario, and to visit a friend, and it was a beautiful area. And my takeaway that day, like Secretary McElwain, was they averaged 477 inches of snow there because of the lakes. And they said they'll have 3 or 4 foot of snow through the night. And there was a young man there, was 15. We said, so, when do they close schools? And he said, well, if they get 4 foot of snow during the night, as long as it's not snowing the next morning, we have school. And all I could think about was here in Calvert County, where if they call for snow now, we close schools.
Did he tell you they go on a snowmobile or?
Nope. He didn't say how they got there, but he said, we don't see blacktop until spring. And I thought, the people in Calvert County freak out if one flake hits the blacktop. But he said, no, they don't close schools. They don't plow the roads. You just drive on top. And so that was my takeaway, like the secretary was, they don't close schools. But it's always great to go someplace else and learn little nuances about how they live and how a bunch of wimps we've turned out to be. But yeah, 477 inches of snow. And you ride around, look at some of the homes in that area, you wonder how they survived 12 inches of snow, much less 477. So, but I got distracted. So just to remind everybody, once again, our animal shelter is full of animals, especially dogs.
That's 40 feet.
Yeah, 40 feet of snow. Yeah. Our animal shelter, sorry, got distracted, is full of animals. If you have space in your heart and space in your home, there's animals there that need your love and attention. And we ask that you would go down there and see if there's something that meets your heart's needs. Also, once again, we started this process last year where you can submit legislative requests, issues that you think need to be addressed. And we need those by August the 19th, which is coming up pretty quickly. But if you have a legislative issue, please bring it to our attention and get that submitted to us by August the 19th of 2024. That concludes my comments and my public service announcements today. I want to thank all of you for your attention today, and
motion?
yes, I need a motion.
Okay. I move that we recess to closed session pursuant to Section 3-305B, 1I, to discuss personnel matters. 4, to consider a matter that concerns the proposal for a business or industrial organization to locate, expand, or remain in the state. And 8, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we go into executive session. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.